2 of the season, and it looks like it might be a sellout. Welcome into your Thursday edition of the early game. Tim Hill, Bill Gunter, Patrick Perrette, Jim Jensen. We got the full house here for you. The news yesterday: less than 1,000 tickets available for Carolina, Kentucky, 7 o'clock Saturday night. Bill, what did you make of that news? I was a little bit surprised to hear that yesterday.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good sign. People can be dramatic and be upset about the Georgia loss, and maybe some of the reasons they have are right. But you see the excitement, and this is Tim. I've pointed to this game really since Shane Beamer came on. This would be the tail game of where the first year of the Beamer era is. I don't think that makes it a must win, but I think you're kind of going through levels of comparing yourself. Okay, well, we're not really close to Georgia. Well, not a huge surprise there. That's kind of expected. We want to be close to Kentucky, if not better, in year one. That perception is that South Carolina should always be better than Kentucky. They're not right now, but you want to see where are we in regards to Kentucky. I know that makes people cringe. It probably angers people at 6:06 on a Thursday morning when you're trying to compare the Kentucky and South Carolina program, but that's simply where South Carolina is at right now. And so Thursday night is a barometer game. It tells you where South Carolina comes out the gate and wins. By the way, if they win, boy, all of a sudden the season kind of opens up. You look ahead, you go, all right, Troy at home, a winnable Tennessee game, Vanderbilt's winnable. Wow, all right, 6-1 going to College Station. We should be bowl eligible. You lose, and depending on how you lose, you kind of look down the remainder of the schedule and you start going, okay, well, maybe Troy, maybe Vanderbilt. I don't know about Tennessee. And then the last 5, Auburn looks better than we anticipated. Florida looks really good. Getting to that over 3.5 is going to be difficult. So also from that standpoint, I don't want to label it a must win. I don't know what that means, but this is certainly a game that South Carolina will learn a whole lot about the first stage of the Shane Beamer era.
What do you think, Patrick? You agree?
Yeah, and I think that's why tickets are selling so much. I think people want to go when there's like a top 10 team in town because you want to be there in case the magical moment happens and you can say, oh, I was there when South Carolina beat Alabama in 2010 or something like that. But also, there's just a lot of excitement around this weekend in general. Kentucky is really good right now. There's a lot of buzz around this team. SEC Network's going to be there. They're going to be on the horseshoe. You get to show up early and you can go by campus and see Tim Tebow and Feinbaum and all those characters. That adds some fun. And it's a night game. And it's a game where you feel like the crowd can actually make a difference in this game. Relatively inexperienced quarterback. He's been in college for a while, but hasn't been a starter until this season. So you feel like maybe this is a game where the crowd at Williams-Brice Stadium, when you're on the SEC Network night game, a lot of people will be watching it, and it can be a very good reflection on the program and the fan base and be a reminder to everyone, yeah, this Williams-Brice Stadium can be a really hard place to play when South Carolina is a good team. And like you said, it's a barometer. This can completely change the course of the season because you win this, you think you're going to beat Troy again next week at home, and you say, okay, we have a chance to go into Knoxville and beat a Tennessee team that's not very good this year and secure the bowl game by mid-October. I mean, that would be unbelievable. Or you lose this game and you say, okay, well, you get back above 500 against Troy, and then you go to Knoxville, which is, no matter what, never an easy place to play, and it's basically a must-win if you want to make a bowl game. You feel like it's a must-win, and there just becomes a lot more pressure for the next couple of weeks. But I just think people are excited to see a night game that a lot of people will be watching. There will be a lot of attention on this game within the Southeastern Conference, and I don't know how many tickets Shane Beamer sold with his plea to Gamecock fans yesterday, but I think it did help with the excitement level. They know that there's recruits going to be there. They want to show off how great our fan base is. So not too surprised.
To me, that reminded me, Bill, of Steve Spurrier's line from back in the day. It's like, yeah, South Carolina people give money. They just never been asked before. I feel like a lot of fans felt like they were included or asked to do something for the first time in a while by their football coach, and clearly the response has been pretty good if there are less than 1,000 tickets left, like USC announced yesterday.
True. I mean, look, and I'm with Patrick. A lot of it, a lot of it is just the chance to return to a normal way of college football. I mean, and in
People
some
probably got
aspects,
jealous last weekend, right?
of
Watching that
the big
Georgia,
environment.
watching Georgia and Penn State, and saying,
Yeah.
"Man, that is." I remember when Williams-Brice used to be like that.
Yep. I mean, a chance to go out and really build something. And again, it's not an opponent that the spread I believe is still 5.5. I think it might even be down to 5. I'll look real quick. It's not a game like Georgia where you're a 31-point favorite. This is a winnable game. It's a very, very winnable game. It's a kind of a toss-up in some ways. South Carolina can go out and make some plays. If the blocking can improve, the defense gets a few stops, that place gets rolling, there's no reason South Carolina can't really turn the tables and have a big game. So now, flip side of that, yeah, I'm looking 5.5, 4.5 on FanDuel. This is a game in which South Carolina is expected to compete in and give themselves a chance to win, and the fans certainly can play a large role in this game.
Good morning, all, on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line from Gamecock Leary. After listening to the early game, the extra point, the halftime show, my notebook is full. That was at 5:08 this morning. So beware. Gamecock Larry has a full notebook today. I'm interested to hear you guys take on this because the matchup on paper, to me, isn't an ideal one for South Carolina on the defensive side of the ball. Knowing what Kentucky kind of prides itself on, physical offense, running the football. They got a quarterback who can run it a little bit, as well as had some solid success, I'd say 3 games in as the transfer from Penn State and Will Levis. But just the fact that that Kentucky kind of hangs its hat on running the football, I think maybe offensively it is a pretty good matchup for the Gamecocks in that it's a 3-3-5 kind of setup over there. And the big problem for Carolina has been running the football. And it was interesting listening to Marcus Satterfield yesterday, the offensive coordinator speaking, Clayton White, defensive coordinator speaking, as well as Zeb Nolan and Ja'Kai Moore, a couple of players. But Satterfield talking about how he does need to get a running back in a rhythm and get him going. And then, for instance, Juju McDowell not getting any touches against Georgia, a failure on his part. Pretty blunt and open and honest. But Bill, what do you make of the specific matchup here, the styles of play, knowing obviously it's just 3 games into this tenure, and that was Marcus Satterfield's big explanation for the offensive line issues that we talked a lot about yesterday, the miscommunications and guys being in positions with no one to block, and Georgia having some success getting to the quarterback.
To me, it's 3 straight games. I feel like, okay, that happens once and you get it fixed. It doesn't happen again, but it happened. It's happened 2 straight weeks. Going in Eastern Illinois, you saw it. You had a week to get it fixed. You didn't. Against East Carolina, you saw it again. You had a chance to get it fixed. You didn't against Georgia. And so when I say 2 straight weeks, I mean you kind of didn't know what you had going into Eastern Illinois, but you've had 2 weeks that I've watched, the week after Eastern Illinois, the week after East Carolina, where you weren't able to get it fixed. So what exactly happens on week 3? Is this the magical week where it all comes together? I kind of reserve judgment on that, but I don't think the offensive line talent-wise is as bad as some people are making it out to be. I think it is more scheme. I think it is more communication. I do think it's more fixable than we realize. I just don't know how to do it, and I don't know still where exactly the issues are coming from, and you hope the coaches do, and we'll find out. As far as the actual matchup, I don't know because, Tanner, at this point, I still haven't figured out the identity of South Carolina's offense. I mean, are they indeed run heavy? I don't know if I would lean towards saying that just yet. It seems they offensively, when they go out there, they seem discombobulated at times. They seem to not know what exactly they want to do. I was going back to the Georgia game. Well, they were limited. They were limited to begin with, but they were limited on short to intermediate pass routes. It seemed like it was a handoff or a bomb. A handoff or a go route to Josh Vann or Jalen Brooks. You need to have some intermediate routes there, some tight ends over the middle. So there's a lot there that I kind of wonder about the scheme and what South Carolina's trying to accomplish. And maybe we'll learn more on Saturday night.
Did anybody ask him about the tight ends?
Yeah, I think he was asked about the tight ends. And mentioned that he needs to get them more involved as well. But the thing is actually doing it, and that's where I think a lot of Gamecock fans are with where you're at, Bill. Just 3 games into a new coaching staff, identity. I don't say issues, but it is a surprise of what we've seen so far through 3 games for South Carolina football. Their inability to a certain extent to establish the run game, certainly anywhere close to what they did last year. Patrick, the matchup on paper then going in here in the 2021 season, I think is a pretty fascinating one because I think you can make cases for both programs. And like I said yesterday, I think probably most of the fans are going the other way and seeing some of the issues and where the problems have been. And I guess my point being in this one is this might be another game where a couple of SEC fan bases go in and neither one is really confident that their team is going to be the best version of itself and show up and be able to control the ball game. How do you see it?
You think Kentucky fans are feeling that way?
Yeah, I think so. They just won by 5 points against Chattanooga last week.
Yeah, I mean that was also a trap game in the middle of a couple SEC, in between a couple SEC games, a big home win where you were real fired up, I guess, the week before. I'm not totally surprised that they maybe sleptwalk through that game a little bit, but I don't know. I think Kentucky fans are really confident in this football team they've got right now, mostly just because of the offense. And I from what I've seen on Twitter, I mean, I don't follow too many Kentucky people, but I think they expect to come in here and really wallop South Carolina. And I saw the videos of the practice where they're playing Sandstorm and the Gamecock. What is it? The Crow? What is the noise? What is the official name? It is a crow. Okay, the Rooster Crow. So yeah, I think they're going to be ready to play. I think Kentucky fans are feeling probably a lot more confident than South Carolina fans right now.
Kentucky fans are where South Carolina fans were at from 2000 to 2013, right? Like they don't know anything that's not success against South Carolina. What is it? 6 out of the last 7? I mean, you kind of know that South Carolina is capable of jumping up and getting you. That's how I always felt about Kentucky. Yeah, they might. I mean, they might. There were some good games, some close games during that 2000 to 2013 stretch, Tim. The Jared Lorenzen. There were some Jared Lorenzen games up there in Lexington. There was Steve Spurrier's first year, I think, where it was a close game here. His second year was the Savell Newton, the Corey Boyd, the Savell Newton, and then that was the one where South Carolina was up 14 and almost gave up a Hail Mary. And we saw Ron Cooper make an appearance fresh out of the shower in the press conference. I mean, it wasn't like South Carolina was running them out of the building every year by 2 and 3 scores. The 53-3 game, I think, was the anomaly to that. You kind of always knew Kentucky was going to give you a competitive game. There was the game that Kentucky led for all of, I think, like 58 minutes. I was up there for that. It was a noon game, and Chris Smelly stunk. Or was it Smelly that's, I think, it was Suckup went 0 for 4 that day, but made the one field goal that counts. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think it was either Chris Smelly who struggled all day and Garcia came in and won the game, or vice versa, one of the two. I think it was Smelly that stunk all day, and then Garcia came in and won the game. So they were good competitive games during that huge win streak for South Carolina. It wasn't like South Carolina was blowing them out. They would just find a way to win, but you kind of always knew it was going to be a competitive game. You just always knew South Carolina was going to come out on top.
Do you guys know what Kentucky is looking at the next 3 weeks after this game?
It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
It is ridiculous. So it's at South Carolina. Then the next 3 games are hosting Florida, hosting LSU, and at Georgia. So I think this is a very much in their minds a get-right week for Kentucky. They sleptwalk through Chattanooga, like I said. They're expecting to come out here and be firing all cylinders because they're saying, hey, if we got any shot of beating Florida at home next week, we need to be very good this week, because if we go into this and we're 3-1 coming out of here, next thing we know, we're sub 500 by the time mid-October hits. Like things could fall apart quickly for Kentucky as well. So I think they're going to be more than confident coming in South Carolina.
Gamecock Will says, hate to sound like Gamecock Larry, but take the Gamecock. Another anonymous texter, he says they'll win by 16. Confidence this morning. Another anonymous texter says circumstantial play calling is completely different than scripted play calling. I think that's the problem, that we're not seeing a great offense yet, because every game has been pretty much circumstantial play calling, meaning the coaches call plays based on the circumstances in the game. We have to get to the point where we dictate what we're calling on offense, and I think things will look much better.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what that means. Heard Marcus Satterfield talk about how many plays he scripts or has scripted in a game and then making some adjustments. Let's hear from the Gamecock offensive coordinator specifically about his quarterback situation now, which again is a little bit up in the air from what I heard yesterday. We'll see what you feel about that, and we'll love to hear your opinions at 803-404-6100 as Patrick shakes his head.
Well, I hope that last texter was using voice text, because grade, GRADE, all ALL, fence, FENCE.
I'm going
Has
with
to be
David.
voice text,
I'm
right?
giving a break. It's 6:21 in the morning. Don't put him down.
Yeah, I was just happy I figured it out and translated it.
I was
It took me a
actually
little
impressed
while.
by that.
Also glad that he explained that circumstantial means relative to the circumstances. That one was flabbergasting me a little bit.
Patrick's coming in hot this morning. Anthony, Craig, David, LeVar, Lauren, Rodney, Josh, all up with us on the live video chat right now, or the live video stream, I should say, sponsored by Buford Lending on Facebook, YouTube Live, and Twitter. The station handle at 1075 The Game. It's the early.
All right. One segment down.
Clemson Allen with a good one. Good shot via text. That Rooster Crow sounds off way too much, kind of like Gamecock Larry, LOL.
Happy to be up and alive, some people are.
Saturday, they're now open at 7 a.m. to serve you better. Kickstart your work with them and get more done. Northern Tool and Equipment. Quality tools for serious work.
You're ready to get out and get moving. And whether it's surfing, playing tennis, or hiking every path you can find, you're going to need some essential new gear. Essentials that are even more rewarding with the Bank of America customized cash rewards credit card. You can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Visit bankofamerica.com/more-rewards. Essentials have never felt more. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation. A deeper connection with water can change your life. That's what the
Gotta tell you guys, feeling a little bit like football in the garage this morning.
I can see that.
Is it now?
So weather like this weekend?
Supposed to be nice. Be down into the upper 50s overnight, but mid to upper 70s during the day.
High of 79, low 52 on Saturday.
Yeah.
Maybe bring a sweatshirt to the game.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
That's exciting when you just the fact that you have to think about bringing a sweatshirt to the game.
Think about how to bring that hot chocolate in with the peppermint schnapps. Oh, wait. No.
Oh.
Wait, bring the hot chocolate in. You make it sound like they sell the peppermint schnapps, but you have to sneak your hot chocolate in.
No, it was just
Is that what they did at Butler? They sold the peppermint schnapps. You just had to sneak in your hot chocolate in your boot?
that's how it went. Yep. That's exactly how it was. We were backwards school.
Yeah, I remember when game day was there when you were there.
Crazy times.
I hear you, David. That is definitely part of it right now. You guys see the Braves had a home run called a single last night? Don't see
No.
that?
It's a
Oh
rare
no.
occurrence, I would imagine.
What's that?
I said that's a rare occurrence, I would imagine.
Yep. Gonna guess how it happened?
Bartman was there.
No, it was kind of a similar play right near the top of the wall. I don't think a fan was involved. Was Diamondbacks outfielder had it in his glove and then it popped over. There were runners on first and third, and the runner at first kind of off going back to first while Adam Duvall was rounding first. So the batter ended up passing a runner on the bases, so he's out.
Oh. Wow.
And that's your nerdy baseball breakdown of the movie. I do not know how you officially score that one in the scorebook. I think they ended up calling it a single.
I love when goofy stuff like that happens, just to kind of remind you of, okay, so what are the rules for these weird circumstances?
Mm-hmm.
Craig, I've gotten kind of excited. I've watched more Ryder Cup preview the last 2 days. I like the European team coming out yesterday with the cheesehead zone and throwing them into the crowd.
We'll have the play-by-play on Sunday. Sunday afternoon, we'll have the play-by-play on the radio station there.
I didn't realize the Ryder Cup was only 3 days. I just thought all golf tournaments were 4 days.
Yeah, this is different for sure.
Never watched the Ryder Cup,
It's
but I
fun.
heard that the European teams you can get better than 2-1 on them.
Yeah, last I saw they were plus 190 yesterday. Who
Check
knows?
that right now. I was thinking this might be the year because I've been reading about it. I was like, this might be the year that I actually decide to watch the Ryder Cup, but I'll be out of town this week, and there's no shot I'm watching any of it.
Well, that's the thing about the Ryder Cup is you got to really kind of be invested because it is during football. Like if you don't catch it on Friday, odds of you really going out of your way to catch it on Saturday are slim.
We're coming back in.
Can we do 3, Jen? 3 straight in?
Yep.
Thank you. And then might get into another one. I'll just flash you a number here if
Okay.
I want to pop it up here.
He can do an 11 on 11 and things like that. I think he gets confidence in the foot. He's moving, he's still not 100%, but he's moving around a lot better.
And has Zeb still got the bandage on his hand? Or where's he at? Sort of.
He's still, it's going to be taped up for a while, I'm sure, but he was out there throwing the ball around today and looked good and made some really good throws. So again, I'm sure y'all love hearing this, but just going through the week and seeing that, at the end of the week, how both, and then at the end of the week, we'll know which direction we're going.
Carolina offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield going into a little bit more detail than Shane Beamer did about his quarterback situation. I feel like the environment in the Beamer press conference was, hey, just checking, Doty, right? And he was like, yes, Luke Doty will start as long as everything's good this week. And then Marcus Satterfield, I think, throwing a little bit more doubt in there on the depth charts. It's officially listed as or. Bill, how do you see the quarterback situation playing out this Saturday night?
I mean, I assume it's Luke Doty's to run with. He came in, he played all of last game. He actually seems healthier than Zeb Nolan. Okay, so we've reached that point where one's got a foot, one's got a hand, and we're trying to figure out who's the healthier. But I assume it's going to be Luke Doty. And, again, was he perfect last week? No, but, guys, I mean, I thought against that defense, coming back, kind of comparing it to what I saw at the end of last year, I thought he made some strides. I thought it was a pretty good performance for what I expected. Maybe my expectations were too low. I don't know. I didn't think that Luke Doty was the reason the team lost the game, and I thought he gave them a chance. He had the one scramble that would have been a first down, gets called back because of a holding on, I think it was Eric Douglas. You know, I kind of tend to believe, all right, Patrick, I don't want to ever say that a guy getting injured and going down and you having to sub the guy that we all want to see in there is the way to do it. But guys, I kind of think like you gave it, it just worked out perfectly. Zeb Nolan got his ceremonial first start in his home state with his dad there, led the team down to a field goal, and unfortunately for him, because of injury, he then turned the reins over to the guy that we think is the more dynamic guy. And Luke Doty got all the snaps, got some of the cobwebs out. Yeah, he got banged around a little bit, but he got the reps to go into a game that South Carolina desperately needs.
Patrick, what do you think?
Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe playing out in South Carolina.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Let's hear more
Yeah.
from Marcus Satterfield then about what he thought about Luke Doty coming into that Georgia game.
If you would have told me Saturday night that he would have played period or had that many plays, I'd have looked at you funny. But I mean, it was an amazing feat that he went out there and did what he did. I think he probably had 8 to 11 plays in the last month versus scout team, nothing like an 11-11. So to go out there in that environment against that defense, we weren't perfect executing, but I mean, he did some really good things for a guy that's not played a lot of quarterback.
Again, Gamecock offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield. To me, this is where we start to get a real good handle again about translating what we're hearing around Gamecock football and quarterbacks especially. He just put a number on it. 8 to 11 plays. That is much different than the vibe I had gotten from the coaching staff that, yeah, Luke Doty's at practice, but we expect him to be 100%. We just heard Marcus Satterfield say he wasn't 100% and he'd hardly practiced. It's interesting to me, and I think grading him on a curve is where not just Marcus Satterfield was what he was expressing right there, but I think what you're talking about too, Bill, about what you saw from Luke Doty Saturday night, especially against Georgia. So, Patrick, knowing all of that, what do you make of the situation going in this Saturday? You feel like it's going to be all Doty? Do you feel like Zeb Nolan has a chance, or the plan will be to get him in a series or two? How close do you feel like those two are? And then how do you think it'll play out?
No, I think it'll be all Doty because I'm confident that Doty will play well. I mean, he looked 100% to me last week, and I don't know, maybe it benefited him that he didn't practice a ton or didn't go in as a starter. It's the way he plays. He kind of strikes me as someone who he's just a football player. He's not going to get affected too much by the lack of preparation. He can just kind of run out there and let it all hang out and just nothing to lose and go play. But I think he'll play well. I'm not buying into the Kentucky's just going to drop back and keep everything in front of them and not get beat on the big play, and that's going to be their whole game plan. I think they will bring pressure against South Carolina. Just after a bad game last week, I think they're going to want to be in attack mode, and I think Luke Doty's going to have to be healthy this week because I think, again, he's going to be running. He's going to have to break the pocket a lot because just there's no reason to believe that the offensive line is finally going to hold up and keep him clean. So I think he will play well. I think he will make a lot of plays with his feet. Even if they do drop back, that's going to give opportunities for maybe just move the chains. If it's 3rd and 5 and Kentucky's drop back trying to stop the pass, make one guy miss and move the chains, keep it moving. So yeah, I think it'll be 100% Doty. They can say all they want about Zeb, but if things go well, we're not going to see a lick of him.
So I mentioned this in the conversation, I think on Monday when we were talking about the quarterback deal. I was surprised that Doty didn't run more. I think now having heard from Marcus Satterfield say that he wasn't 100%, to me that it was more a matter of the confidence in that sprained foot as opposed to having maybe matured more as a quarterback or decided to look more to pass as opposed to run. And so now it's a matter of how that thing kind of bounces back. And I think that's the tricky part about Doty's situation is that you just don't see his injury very often. Bill, the most often that we see his injury is unfortunately when it puts guys out for the season with a Liz Frank fracture as opposed to that mid-foot sprain. And we heard about the soreness that Shane Beamer said kind of kept him out of the East Carolina game. I think a lot hinges on how that foot bounces back and then kind of how much confidence he has in that thing to plant and go and to see what he can make happen with his legs as well this Saturday night. What about you?
Well, that's going down a rabbit hole because I think now you start to kind of question the initial diagnosis, the decision to take the cast off. Look, what I hear right now is a guy who is far more injured than the coaching staff let on. And I quite frankly, when I hear Marcus Satterfield say, well, he hadn't done last week what he had not done 11 on 11 stuff until the Thursday before the game, that was his first chance. It makes me wonder, well, why'd you take the cast off so early? And why has he even been dressed out for the first 2 games? You know, why is this even, how much gamesmanship are we trying to play? Like, how, it doesn't sound like he's even been close to ready the last 2 games. It sounds like he's definitely not 100% going into this game. But
to me, Bill, this is not a medical issue in how they've treated it because it's a sprain. I know I've had sprained ankles. I'm guessing you have as well. Like, you can only do so much with that thing. You gotta be able to get back and then cut and be confident in the whole thing. That I gotta think this mid-foot sprain is similar to a large degree, and I'm sure if they thought they needed to keep it in the cast longer, I mean, you're not telling me that they dressed him out for Eastern Illinois to put some doubt in East Carolina's head or something like that.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that it's kind of one of those things where he's playing. The toothpaste is out of the bottle or whatever. The cat's out of the bag. The Pandora's box is open. I don't know, whatever stupid thing you want to use. But, he's playing now. I don't see how he's not playing. It does make me wonder when we've heard all that now how healthy Zeb Nolan is. Like, it's one thing for Zeb Nolan to stand on the sideline and throw passes to a coach, just to see if his hand's working and you hear him, yeah, he's out there today, as opposed to like going through the actual practice. I think Luke Doty's playing. Now, I guess back to your point of running the football, is the whole playbook open to him? And does that playbook involve Marcus Satterfield using Luke Doty's legs? Like, is it a true zone read play where Doty makes the read himself, or is it a called zone read where they're telling Doty, all right, you pull this one and you keep it around the end, or you hand it off? I mean, that would be more of a question. Probably should hop on one day and ask that. Like, is it a true zone read, or are you calling it ahead of time? There's things with this offense we're continuing to learn. I do think we're going to get a lot of answers this week about what this offense really does look like and what they're trying to call. Even if the blocking is not that good, I think we'll get a better idea of what exactly they're trying to accomplish this weekend.
Speaking of the blocking, let's get Marcus Satterfield's take on that. The offensive line through 3 games, especially knowing that there were multiple issues against Georgia.
There's 1 or 2 spots up front that guys have played a while that have solidified themselves, but the rest of those guys, like, they've got to practice well every day. They got to perform when they get in the game because if you're struggling up front, it's going to show. It's going to be glaringly showing on Saturdays, and it showed its head a couple times on Saturday. But again, we got what we are who we are, and we're going to go out there and we're going to compete. And whoever those 5 guys are, they're going to do the best they can.
When I listened to that for the first time, my reaction was, "Ooh, that's not necessarily a glowing endorsement for the Gamecock offensive line." It's never a glowing endorsement, I feel like, when a coach comes out at any point in the season and goes with the old "we are who we are" kind of line there. Patrick, what do you make of what you just heard from Marcus Satterfield and the offensive line evaluation? I think he was asked specifically about the rotation and who's going to be in there, and mentioned that it's not set and there's no real. I'm guessing outside of Dylan Wonnum. Sounded to me like there's nobody he's particularly pleased with necessarily that absolutely is going to be the starter no matter how they're practicing this week.
Well, that doesn't necessarily make you feel better. I think that actually what I've always heard from any offensive line coach or anyone that played on offensive line is as much or more than any position unit on the field, continuity is important because you have to know your assignment. You have to trust that the guy next to you knows his assignment. You all have to be on the same page. And like we've been saying all week, there was examples of guys just straight up getting beat, but even more scary was there was guys standing there. We talked at length about the safety play where there's guys just standing there with no one to block. And if you're going to now just keep swapping guys in and out because you're not doing your job, that could just throw another wrench in there because they're not comfortable with each other, and guys' communication could be even more of an issue. And guys are blocking the wrong guy, two guys blocking one guy while someone's running behind you. Like, I don't know enough about the ins and outs of offensive line play. I just know that everyone I've ever heard talk about it says communication and continuity, utmost importance. So if you're swapping guys in and out, that can't be a good sign.
Bill, what do you make of Marcus Satterfield's comment there, we are who we are?
I hope that's not the case. Just hope that's not the. Yeah, I'm with you. I hope that's no. You're not who you are. You got 9 games left. Stop being who you are. Be somebody different. Then do something different in practice. I mean, they've got offensive linemen that have played. I mean, Vershawn Lee, I saw him get in there a little bit the other night. Vinny Murphy is a guy who hasn't played, but provides some backup. There are other options on that offensive line. Don't be afraid to make a change to see who can do it. I will say I'm not thrilled with some of the ideas to make changes in game, but if a guy stinks, and you got to get him out. And we'll see. We will see. I guess when you say we are who we are, okay, to an extent, your offense is who it is, but you can make some personnel decisions to make it better.
If you're looking for a reason for optimism, man, the last time Kentucky came to Williams-Brice, I thought that was a head scratcher in the Gamecocks' favor that Carolina dominated the ball game. It was when Kentucky was having the quarterback issues, I believe, specifically. So I put a lot of it on there, but also the run game. I think it was the best the offensive line has played in several years was in that game against Kentucky the last time they came to Williams-Brice. So that's why I asked you guys about the matchup on paper, knowing Mark Stoops has the defensive reputation, but hearing from kind of our resident Kentucky fan on the show, Kentucky Joe, yesterday via text saying that the bend but don't break type of defense there that has struggled to get to the quarterback. That's a good matchup on paper for the Gamecocks offensively if they are planning on getting that run game going. Making a bunch of changes because of issues is something we've seen from, I feel like we saw that from Steve Spurrier pretty consistently. It's something that this coaching staff doesn't plan on doing in that way. Let you hear exactly what Marcus Satterfield had to say about that when we come back. 803-404-6100 is the number. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. Free of charge. In your car. Free of charge. Online. Free of charge. On the app and streaming on your smart speaker. Free of charge. 107.5 The Game.
Man, yesterday, barbecue chips, great popsicle, and then vanilla ice cream, the waffle cone. This is what my 18-month-old was doing yesterday. A little, and I bring this up because of Zero Res Carpenter Air Duct Cleaning. Thank goodness we have them around my house. Otherwise, just complete disaster. Got some professional help. They do it the right way. No harsh chemicals involved in their cleaning process. It's a patented ZR water deal. Check it out. All the details, ZeroResColumbia.com. But, man, this kid, the popsicle and the ice cream, it's really the only thing that gets them really excited. And then we have a little cup that you keep those chips in that you have to pull it out. He just pulls them out all at one time, and then chucked them on the floor, and then spread them out, and then tried to crush them. That's what I'm dealing with at my house. That's why we need professional help. One of the reasons why we need professional help. And Zero Res has done that, been out to my house a couple of times, done a great job cleaning my carpets, freshened up the tile in the kitchen and the bathroom, really impressed my wife with the results. I know they can give you great results as well. I also know your carpets are going to stay cleaner longer, just like mine, because there's no leftover soapy residue with that patented ZR water cleaning system from Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, only $119 plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. ZeroResColumbia.com, the place to book your appointment right now. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass,
Oh, tell my wife there. Greg, great advice. Kale and celery. That dude would throw that mess so quick.
Tim,
there with kale and celery, man.
what would you have you seen the spread for Notre Dame, Wisconsin?
I have not seen the spread.
Number 12 Notre Dame versus number 18 Wisconsin in Chicago. What do you think?
I'm perplexed with the way that you have brought this up because I'm guessing it's going to be surprising, but I'm sure this is going to be wrong now. Now you've Jeopardy you've mind warped me here. I'll go Notre Dame minus 3.5.
It's Wisconsin minus 6.5.
Wow.
I mean, Notre Dame hasn't looked good the last 2 weeks. They almost lost to Toledo, but in Chicago, Wisconsin hasn't looked awesome. They're 2-1.
That is.
Notre Dame's 2-1 right now.
Wow, that is interesting.
I find that hard not to.
Is there an injury that Notre Dame's dealing with? Quarterback or anything that you know? Jack Cohn's okay, right?
I think so. I guess I'll.
It's the old quarterback playing his former team, and the former team's going to have the advantage?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I type in Jack Cohn, it just says Notre Dame. Jack Cohn is all in on beating the Badgers.
I think his comment was it's going to be weird playing against him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not impressive that they beat Florida State, Toledo, and Purdue, but Chicago's like a home game for them.
Right.
I thought it was interesting. Notre Dame's next 5 games are, let me pull this up. Notre Dame's next 5 games are Wisconsin, Cincinnati, Virginia Tech, Southern Cal, and UNC. So all pretty decent teams. All 5 of those teams have their bye week the week before Notre Dame.
Right. If they go 3-2, I'll be impressed.
Bill, did you see that, the number on Notre Dame, Wisconsin? You're muted. No, you're not.
No, I think Wisconsin is just the better team, and Notre Dame has struggled early on.
Are they going to beat them by a touchdown? You know what? Pushing that thing up to 12.5 and a teaser seems like super easy.
Somewhere there's a guy in Vegas rubbing his hands together, realizing he's got your $35 in his pocket already.
You know what? Notre Dame plus 12.5, App State plus 1 or minus 1. How does that lose?
Who's App State playing?
There's no way that
Marshall
Wisconsin
tonight
is beating Notre Dame by 2 touchdowns. They can't even score.
I don't know, man. You're hating on my boy Sean Clifford a couple weeks ago. He seems to be coming back to bite you in the hiney.
Yeah, I said he played his best game of his career.
Clifford's getting a lot of love from the college football live guys there.
Chuck, you can't say that without then painting the mental picture of what you thought Patrick was going to look like.
Yeah. Bill, you missed it. I painted a picture of Todd from Alabama the other day for the live stream.
You painted a picture, or you drew on the whiteboard?
No. Metaphorically painted the picture. What do you think Todd from Alabama looks like, Bill?
Well, I'm skewed because I've seen was it Shannon, ring guy? Was his name Shannon?
That's exactly what I said. I was like, I think all Alabama fans. That's all I think in my head.
That's all I envisioned. The guy who works in, what was it? Where did he work? Works in Walmart and ripped out the radio out of the wall on the kick 6 and shut down the Walmart.
Todd definitely works at Walmart too. But I think we pretty much settled on a younger country Jason Alexander.
Younger country. Who's Chad? What is a Chad? A bigger Chad. Khakis, off color.
What is off color shirts? not black and white.
I don't know. Yeah,
Off
I'm
color.
saying,
maybe kind of faded like T-shirts.
is that Dwight Schrute? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Off color
What
shirts,
is-
isn't that ones that are sort of like have
pastels.
sayings on them that might not be that might be insulting or
Oh yeah.
like off color
Yeah.
humor?
Oh, off-color shirts, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of a Chad. I don't get offended when people say that.
What is a Chad?
Yeah,
It's
never
just-
heard
That
it.
hangs.
It's
Huh?
just what people call like
Alright.
frat type kids.
Oh,
I
frat.
just don't wear pastels and things like that because I'm not Southern.
It's a lot happening there.
Pink and peach.
Yeah, I don't wear these. The Southern kids wear those. I don't. We don't wear that in Northeast.
Like that's one of our pet peeves is, when coaches lose a game and then they come back and they're, we're starting today doing this and we're going to do this different. Like we're not doing anything really different. We're cleaning up some stuff. We still have our system we believe in and we know it's a great system. So we're just holding people accountable at practice. We're putting, not more emphasis, but we're really, 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 really making sure that the communication is clear. Everybody's on the same page. And thus far, the first 2 days of practice, you can really see a difference.
Carolina offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield. Bill, what do you make of that comment? To me, that was a huge difference. And maybe Steve Spurrier just did it for a press conference, but I don't think so. I think he was that guy who would just get so angry at lack of performance. He was just going to change stuff to change stuff. Give the next guy a chance. I can't tell you how many press conferences that was the theme coming out of after a disappointing performance for Gamecock football in the Steve Spurrier era. Yep, got to try something else. Got to try something else. Somebody new. And then to hear Marcus Satterfield say that's kind of this coaching staff's pet peeve, I think it is pretty fascinating in a lot of different ways. What did you hear there?
I mean, I like what he's saying there that, hey, we have a system. There's no reason to scrap the system because you played the number 1 or number 2 defense in the country and you only put up 13 points and what was it, a little over 200 yards. You don't come back home and be like, oh, that doesn't work. Well, let's find something different. You've worked too hard and too long on that system. And he is right. To me, some of it is it's simple blocking. Not to be overly positive, but to me, you've found a receiver. One of the big question marks going into the year was, hey, does South Carolina have anybody out there who can play, wide receiver number 1? Josh Van's proven that. Now all of a sudden you feel a little bit better about the wide receivers. Jalen Brooks is, he's got the big catch there. He still had a drop or two, but I think Jalen Brooks is serviceable. You'd like to find that number 3 guy, whether it's Joyner or Brown or Trey Smith or somebody, but I don't think through 3 games you feel as bad about the wide receiver as you did. The running backs, the talent there hasn't changed. They need to have help blocking. The offensive line, again, it doesn't look like it's as simple. They're getting shoved off the ball. It looks like they're just flat whiffing. And when they've elected to run to the perimeter, they've actually had some success. I'm with him. Stick with what you're doing because I do think it can produce results if you can get
45.
right.
Patrick, is this a more evolved approach to coaching, or is it just a philosophical deal in 2021 about sticking with the process and not coming in and reacting to poor performances and getting after guys making a bunch of changes?
Well, who was it that we were talking about a couple weeks ago where they said this staff actually coaches you instead of yelling at you and pulling you out of the drill because you did the wrong thing? I can't remember who that was to you.
Said that back here
Was
in the spring.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I don't
15.
because that still seems to work in Alabama. I mean, Nick Saban benched his starting tight end for a couple games, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
So
It's
maybe
also because the
Yeah.
guy behind him is a future NFL first rounder as
Right.
well.
if you have the luxury, you can coach whoever you want.
Clearly, we have to ask you guys: have you ever
This
played
is
sports?
Gamecock basketball
More hours.
Head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to The Game, WNKT FM.
Well played, Nick.
we don't get that soundbite into an open soon, we have failed. Any of you guys played sports?
All right.
Yeah, their backup tight end is a converted defensive end, I think.
Jim, do you think Vandy could beat Georgia Tech by 6 points this year? Just a question. I think they got a chance to beat Georgia Tech by 6 points this year.
Georgia Tech's awful.
No, I don't think so.
I want to run up and say hi to my kids real quick.
All right, go get them.
Hey, kids.
Can't move. Yeah, Spurrier was a different guy that way. Spurrier was. You can't relate everything back to Spurrier because practice wasn't as important to Spurrier as it is to some coaches. He was a gamer. He was like, all right, well, just get the job done in the game. Of course, I say that, and he was always getting upset at Garcia for his practice habits.
What's the crowd going to be like at Vanderbilt Stadium at 11 a.m. on Saturday?
Who are they playing?
Georgia.
It's going to be a lot of red and black. A lot of hungover red and black from a night on the town in Nashville.
Hey,
35 and a half.
35 and a half?
Yeah.
Oh, the spread?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like it's going to happen in the first half.
Yeah, they come out. They come out and start chunking it around. I don't know. Georgia's going through the early part of their schedule. Apparently, was the easiest.
I kind of just a lot of things that I like on the board right now.
A lot of things you like.
NC State plus 10, like that. I like LSU minus 2.5. West Virginia plus 17. Oklahoma's not blowing anybody out. Georgia minus 35.5.
Did you say Oklahoma minus 35 and a half?
No, Georgia minus. No, Oklahoma's minus 17.
Okay. All right, give me a minute. I'll be right back. I gotta get up here for a second. Do I have a? Okay, good.
Missouri Boston College is interesting. Missouri's only favored by 1.5. Boston College sucks, right? Or do they not? Oh, Bill's gone.
Yeah.
Phil Jerkovich is hurt, I think.
No, I do think I'm with you. I like. I'm gonna try and stand up here. I think Boston College isn't bad. I actually think if
but their
Boston
quarterback
College,
is hurt, is out
I
for the
actually
year.
think if Boston College was playing Clemson in Chestnut Hill, I think that Boston College would probably beat them.
Yeah, but their quarterback is out for the year.
Oh, really? When did he get hurt?
Yeah. He got hurt last week or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Phil Jerkovich.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's definitely. You're right. That definitely changes things.
Yeah, because people kind of liked him as a Ohio State minus 49.5. No way they're beating anyone by 49.5.
No, defensively they stink.
Maryland's not beating Kent State by 14.5 either. They're going to win that game by probably 10. I bet everything but the South Carolina game. App State's going to crush Marshall.
Jim, I don't think you understand how point spreads work. If you think that that's the same, the 32 spread versus the 35 spread on the road at an 11 a.m. game. It's not how Vegas treats it. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. So probably a 2 touchdown different spread there. night game at Georgia versus 11 a.m. game at Vanderbilt. It's a lot of different factors. If you've ever kind of looked at how Vegas determines spreads, it's a little bit more complicated than just throwing a number out there. You can't really always use that as the same barometer. But that is what it is. I mean, it's kind of like, quite frankly, the fact that Clemson's not a double-digit favorite against one ACC team this year is now, I think, a major sign of what Clemson is slowly becoming. You can see, obviously, there's massive holes up there. All of a sudden, you don't have a bunch of the angels that were up there running the program. You actually have some players.
No.
Oh, you got it. No, but Craig, again, or Jim, you don't understand spreads. You don't understand how they work. You can't say bottom line. That tells me you don't understand how spreads work. And quite frankly, thought you were better than that. Had more.
I didn't think he was better than that.
Patrick did. I'm the one guy, just because I know some of your family members, that thought you were better than that. No, that's not how it works. You should have a better understanding of football than that. I see the pictures on Facebook.
Can't you help if he doesn't understand? Can't you be the one who maybe helps him learn and doesn't chastise him?
I could. Jim's never answered my question. I always think, Jim, you never answered my question. Aren't you? You're related to Dan Corley. Dan's my age. Dan's my age. I know there's a bunch of Corleys in town. I know some that you aren't related to. But I feel like Jim is in some way related to. I know you're related to, obviously, some of the Corleys here, but I thought Dan is my age. Dan lives down in Edisto. Dan and I have grown up. Dan Corley, we were good friends when we were little. We've known each other since elementary school, and I feel like that's got to be who Jim's. I think that's one of the people that Jim is related to, because Dan's a huge Clemson fan. Not related to Dan? I thought that might be one of your cousins. Dan's a good guy. He lives down in Edisto Beach, I think. Again, he's my age, 39. We graduated from Lexington together, known each other. I hadn't seen them. Kind of sucky part about COVID last year was my 20-year high school anniversary reunion got canceled. I'd have liked to go back to that last year. My dad had his 50-year anniversary or reunion, 50-year reunion on Saturday night.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he said it was with Dreer, and a bunch of them came back. He said they had a big crowd.
Morning, Robin.
That's fun. All right, about to back in.
Oh.
Thanks for that email, Jen. I think the NFL Network now, we got the heads up too, so I just said.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sure we'll be immediately.
Oh, Jim, you had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday. Jim's birthday was yesterday.
We'll sing in the next break. You're up.
My point on this week's game, Kentucky Joe. Just a few minutes ago on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, USC is a dangerous team. They can run the ball. Now Doty is in. He can stretch defenses two ways, throwing vertical passes and running the football. They'll always have a puncher's chance of winning games. If Kentucky has a chance, it's UK stuffing the run our defensive line is capable of being one of the best. So that's Kentucky Joe, his team, a 5.5-point favorite, saying if they have a chance, it's stuffing the run. Confidence level on both sides of this thing, I don't think extremely high from either fan base going in. Will be a really interesting environment in that way, I think, on Saturday night with less than 1,000 tickets available at Williams-Brice. The announcement from USC yesterday. Bill, the reaction, I guess I should say, from Gamecock fans about how this game goes is going to be really interesting to me, knowing that, like you said, the offensive identity right now, I feel like is really way up in the air. And maybe we go further than that. Patrick, I think we talked about it yesterday, how you thought this team would be based on the run. And the big question mark going into the season was wide receiver plays and being able to throw the ball downfield. And then you've kind of seen the opposite. You definitely saw the opposite last game with Carolina being able to make some plays with Josh Vann and Jalen Brooks down the field. And Luke Doty looked pretty good and just not necessarily able to run the football through 3 games this season so far. That's why the matchup on paper, I'm wondering how you guys see this thing playing out with Carolina going into a game like you mentioned, Bill. And you win this thing, and immediately you start to look at 6-1 on the schedule. And after a 2-8 season, just to even have any inkling of going 6-1 to start the next year with one of the toughest schedules in the country, and I understand it's backloaded, but I think that's the reality of this 2021 team right now that Shane Beamer has in year number 1. What about you, Bill?
I mean, again, let's be clear. I don't want to put words in y'all's mouth. It's not a must win. Year one, I think, the must wins were Eastern Illinois, East Carolina, and I will put Troy on that thing just because you can't have an embarrassing loss. You just can't. Losing to Kentucky is not embarrassing. It's unfortunately, I know that we shouldn't feel this way about it, but it's happened plenty of times. Losing to Kentucky it's not what you want to be in 2 or 3 years. It's not where this program needs to be, but it is where it is. But this is still a winnable game. Kentucky's got Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver. I'm fascinated to see that matchup this weekend because South Carolina was able to hold in check East Carolina in the passing game, and then we saw them get burnt. Cam Smith, Darius Rush get burnt big time by Georgia's wide receivers, and Wan'Dale Robinson is one of the better wide receivers in the league. But the defense, again, this isn't going to be a Georgia offense. This defense, can you rise up at home where you're going to have 70,000 of your closest friends, dressed in garnet black? I'll do a blackout, by the way. Let's not get into the blackout thing. Let's not try the whiteout thing. Just wear whatever you want to wear to the game and get very excited. But, at the end of the day, can the defense rise up? And then what does the offense do? And how do they look? It is, to me, a barometer game. You go out, Tim, and even if you lose a close one, because the beatings South Carolina's taken from Kentucky, a bunch of them hadn't been close, have they? Like, I know last year was an odd year, but prior to 2019, South Carolina got a hold of Kentucky and stuck it to them pretty good, 24-7. That was the famous "let's run it to the nub side" that Muschamp said. I think coming out of the locker room, they ran it to the nub side and went for about 65 yards for a touchdown. But prior to that, the games weren't really close. Kentucky would get out on top of South Carolina early and just kind of blow them out and lead to a 24-7, 24-14 type win. And even though it might only be 10 points, it wasn't that close. You can play Kentucky close. That doesn't mean you're going to go on to have this incredible year, but I think it gives people faith that the turnaround will happen, that the future looks bright. You go out and you get beat by 17, 21 points. It's going to be hard to continue to sell that right now. And then it makes it an uphill climb here moving through the rest of the season. You go out and win the game on the other hand, and yes, all of the view of 2021 changes dramatically. You don't start thinking about, we got a chance to win the East, but you do start thinking, hey, can we get bowl eligible within the first 7 games? Can we continue to improve to steal one, whether it's Florida or Auburn down the stretch? If we continue to improve and things change, your mindset on the season changes a lot with a victory here. I think your opinion of the football program makes you feel better if it's a very close game that Kentucky's got to go down and kick a field goal late in the game. And And then also, I think you really don't feel good about yourself and about the program if it's another one of those classic games where Kentucky gets out to a big first half lead and the second half is a snoozer and you only lose by 10.
So it's been 5 years since this game was a single-digit game. Last year was 41-18 Kentucky, really no problems at the end of the season. A rare December game, right? That one, I think, I know most Gamecock fans kind of easily forgettable at the end of last year. The year before that, and that's what I pointed out now, number one, man, if you want some optimism, reason for optimism about the Carolina offensive line, you go back to the last trip Kentucky made to Williams-Brice Stadium, where a Gamecock offensive line kind of dominated the game. They went at 24-7. The year before that, so that was that ended the 5-game win streak that Kentucky had. And in those 5 wins, it was 2 straight that were double digits. In 18, it was a 24-10 game up in Lexington. And in 2017, it was a 10-point win at Williams-Brice Stadium, 23-13. And then you get back to 2016, the last time this thing's been single digits, a 17-10 game up in Lexington. And the Williams-Brice Stadium matchup the year before, 2015, was a 4-point game, a 7-point game the 2 years before then. So it had been really, really competitive from 2013 to 2017, all 10-point games or less. And then, Bill, to your point, the last 3 years has been a couple of touchdowns or more. I think it gets back to what we saw, 5 years ago, and then later in this game, at least on paper, it seems like, but it also depends on what kind of version of the teams you get. Can Carolina fix those offensive line issues like Marcus Satterfield? We heard from him in the first hour talking about it, not throwing guys under the bus, not coming in and being reactionary and saying, yeah, we got to change a whole bunch of stuff. It's tweaks and small adjustments and more communication. And he says that's been going well through a couple of days in practice. So take that for what it's worth. Also, take some of these texts for what they're worth. How about Seth? He had us up this morning on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Says, I'm currently listening at Cedar Canoe Landing while I wait on my buddies to get here so we can camp and explore Congaree National Park for the next couple of days. However, I wanted to give my 2 cents on Luke Doty while I wait on these slowpokes. Doty needs to start and be the tools. Really impressed me with his play versus Georgia. If those comments about his reps and health were accurate, then I'm even more impressed. Give this dude the ball, let him lead us to a W. To Patrick's points, we have to get the tight ends involved. Bell, Muse, EJ need to be on the field at the same time. Talk about a nightmare for a defense. All right, I'm going to listen while I get my gear ready. Love the morning show. Can't wait to get to the river on Saturday and watch our Gamecocks get this win. Go Cox. That's from Seth this morning. How about that? Just hanging out, getting ready to go explore, getting a text gas baggy hot take out there. Speaking of gas baggy hot takes, Scott says he wishes he had a gas baggy hot take on Marcus Satterfield, as I haven't been impressed, Scott says, by him so far. I guess as a layman, it may take me a little longer to articulate than I would like, but it's coming as soon as I can succinctly state it. Probably a game. You can hear the sarcasm dripping off that text for sure. I think, Bill, kind of like you were talking about the season, you're calling it a barometer game. Patrick, we got litmus test from Trey the other day?
Yeah.
Does it depend on which kind of science you prefer? Are you more of a chemist if you're going with a litmus test, and you're more of a weather guy if you're going barometer? Is that how that works?
What is a litmus test? Is it like is it like a piece of paper, like a strip that you stick in?
You never do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where you got to figure out based on my 9th grade science whether it's an acid or a base. Is that right? But Jen's not in on the science nerd talk.
I don't know. I remember sticking strips in the river to check the pH level or something one day, but I don't know what that kind of test that was.
Jen, would you like to school us up?
And a barometer measures what?
Remember, Bill's the fake meteorologist, right, Bill? You want to go in on that?
What does it mean if there's a lot of pressure in the atmosphere?
Great question.
Storm's coming.
Oh,
okay. When Bill has no clue, he always says something real quick. Oh, maybe you heard it, maybe it's right, and if it's not right, maybe you didn't hear it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of terms we use in our daily lives that we have absolutely no idea what they mean. I mean, I've said barometer and litmus test and never once even thought about what the actual term means.
That's why we get.
What's a barometer look like? I was picturing in my head like a temperature thing, like the thermometers where the little, it's like a thing of water and the colored. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, something like that. That's what I was picturing a barometer looks like. We'll look at a barometer.
Wait,
I don't know.
Who owns a barometer? Jen, have you seen one?
This barometer looks like a clock.
Is that a farm utensil? Is that used on the farm?
The low pressure. If you look at the barometer, it's got low pressure. You know the storm's coming. If it's high pressure, it's good, clear.
Patrick, to your point.
No, I'm telling you exactly what it is.
Wouldn't you be freaked out if you went over to somebody's house and they just had a barometer laying around? And
Yeah.
Some litmus tests
And a bunch of litmus paper.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, if they're doing that, then yeah, you might be a little. I was going to say, I think barometers are a popular kind of nautical themed
nautical themed.
Yeah, because there's usually a few different readings
that people would have down at their, if you got a house at the beach. Like I have been down and seen I don't know if they're working barometers. Now that we say this, I've never spent the time to go into somebody's house down at the beach and be like, hey, is that a working barometer?
That'd be amazing. I need to test this to see if this is actually a working barometer or what is this? Just decoration? Is that what you're doing?
Thank you. Yeah, the person on the live stream just backed me up. Yeah, barometers are part of nautical themed decor. That's where I was going. Yeah, I've seen that actually a bunch.
Or
now,
again, farm, apparently.
It would be kind of weird if you went down and like, hey man, that a working barometer? You actually use that when the weather's coming in?
It's just something to dust. Yeah.
Alan says, regardless, both are measurements. Yeah, that's our point.
So can we call it like a yardstick game or
it is a yardstick
tape
game.
measure? I mean, there's all sorts of measuring utensils in the world.
Sounds like tomorrow's show. Trying to figure out what exactly to call this game.
Price range of a barometer is quite large. I'm seeing $20 up to $200.
Is that for a good? Is that for a good lake or beach?
Oh,
decor
see,
there?
I knew there were liquid barometers. I wasn't too far off. I'm seeing a antique storm glass wall mount liquid barometer with drip cup, $25.99. It's kind of classy.
Craig says barometer, great wedding gift.
Yeah.
Well done, Craig. Well done. Some of you just joined the show and are awfully confused.
Nothing new.
Guys. Just relax. It's a Thursday morning. We are at that point though in the season in a lot of ways, measuring exactly what this South Carolina football team is. Continue to let you hear from offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield when we come back. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game. Speaking of nautical themes, you guys know one of the reasons why SC Nation is going to be on the Horseshoe is that over at Gamecock Park this weekend, it's going to be already packed. And if you are into the nautical theme, you're into the boating, you're into the fishing, you got to get to Gamecock Park, Gamecock Village this weekend across the street from Williams Bryce there on the Bluff Road side is what I'm trying to say there, because it is going to be anything you're looking for as far as boats, fishing. Someone was making fun of me the other day when I was telling you guys about this. How many freshwater fish can you name? And I came up with guppy, goldfish, and shark. But I don't think that's exactly right. Fortunately, the experts will be there in this one-of-a-kind fishing and boating exhibition going on Saturday, all part of the festivities. We know there's going to be a massive crowd out there. So while you're out there at Williams Bryce on Saturday, great weather, go check it out in Gamecock Village, the fishing and boating exhibition there. All the brand names will be there. Bill probably knows the brand names of the boats and the fishing a lot better than me. But if you're like me and you are not necessarily an expert to this world, go get schooled up like we're schooling you up this morning. Williams Bryce Stadium, Saturday afternoon, starts at 2:30, so plenty of time before the game over there in Gamecock Village. The fishing and boating exhibition across from Williams-Brice Stadium on the Bluff Roadside. Village is the place to check it out. I think what Troy is saying is that would be a very bad sign for your house if the barometer is going up and down.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, Bill, I don't think we ever got your thoughts on the cold pizza. That was one of the conversations yesterday. I'm guessing you're not a cold pizza guy.
No, not even close. Matter of fact, I find that disgusting.
Yeah, this is a maintenance level question for sure. You and Patrick are high maintenance dudes, man.
I said I have eaten cold pizza and would eat it, but it's just not good or not even close to
If I had a
as good.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure at some point in my life I've eaten cold pizza.
Yep.
But why, when I have a microwave and an oven that, like, and I don't like microwave pizza, by the way.
You're right.
Like,
Chewy.
yeah, I don't. So, but microwave pizza would still rank ahead of cold pizza.
If I do microwave pizza, I'm not eating the crust. All I'm doing is grabbing a fork and eating stuff off the top. I want no part of the crust.
Yeah.
Oh, our boy.
What?
Texting. Who cares what happened in the past few years? Idiots.
Clemson fans do, right? Throw out everything in the
Okay.
past, just focus on this.
We got another one. You guys are so sad.
Aw. Somebody needs a hug.
No doubt, man.
Who told us we were sad?
Anonymous text.
A sad person.
Does this guy just text Heath jokes?
I know.
I haven't seen a joke.
Look at his other text. He's only texted like 5 times.
I just see one joke in there. Baptist and Episcopalian.
Oh, I thought he was trying to make a joke when he said, "Why do they call it a Liz Frank injury?"
I think
Based
that
off
was
his
a joke.
previous text, I couldn't really tell. Curious how that joke came up, though. The Baptist and Episcopalian joke.
It was during
Well, our
Heath's
buddy
show?
Jim.
Yeah.
Jen, at the top of this hour, I think I got to cut something to send to Josh.
Okay. And then, you have Barron, who every day sends stuff to the Facebook page, Georgia, or love letters to Stetson or whatever.
Well, he just sends them to the 107.5 Facebook page?
Yeah. I think it's almost like whatever he posts on his, because I thought I saw a connection. I don't follow him on Facebook, but it almost looked like if he puts it on his page, he makes sure it goes on ours or something.
Is that writing on our wall? I haven't been on Facebook in about 10 years. Do you still write on people's wall?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Is it a wall or is it a feed? No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Man, that's good. You know why 6 was afraid of 7?
It's 7, 8, 9.
Classic Joe.
You know how to use a calculator and spell words? Days.
Flip it upside down. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see if Marcus Satterfield can help us get it back on track here.
Hey,
Wish him luck.
see what I can do to get it back off. Bill's got his Shamrock hat on today too. I'm definitely betting on Notre Dame.
One.
Number 1, please.
Okay.
I think it was game 3. The new system playing with us, new coaches, new players playing different combinations. I think it was all just one of those things that we had to go through. We didn't want to go through it. We didn't expect to go through it, but it was there was some issues in our communication that we're working to clean up this week.
Carolina offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield. I hear a little bit of Aaron Rodgers in him right there. Relax. It's one game. Satterfield, I think, has that kind, not quite the California type energy that Aaron Rodgers has, but I think maybe somewhere towards that non-ultra aggressive football coach mentality, more of a cerebral and lower key type personality. You guys with me on this? This is all part of the feeling out process I feel like we're going through with the new coaching staff in general. And again, great to get to hear from coordinators during the season. I think I learned a little bit, if not, I don't know a lot. I don't know how, on the scale, how much I learned yesterday listening to Marcus Satterfield, but it's definitely enlightening to a degree to hear from the guy who's calling on the Carolina plays and some of his mindset. Bill, what do you get from Marcus Satterfield at this point?
Yeah, I got a guy that right now at least believes in his system and that thinks this is all fixable, and that I'm assuming that his offense still was more based around Luke Doty than it was Zeb Nolan, who were two entirely different quarterbacks. So maybe he feels, hey, I got my guy back. Now I can really, everything that I was initially trying to go with is back in front of me. And you hear him. What I'm interested to see is if he follows up more on some of the other things he said. For example, talking about just going with one running back and trying to get that guy into a rhythm. It's hard in college football today with the transfer portal. You get 4 guys. One of them's a true freshman, and the mindset of I'll wait my time and wait until I can get my carries. That's not there anymore. Marshawn Lloyd's a redshirt freshman, I guess. But with that being said, do they settle in on Kevin Harris this week? Is this the week you see them really focus in and say, all right, Kevin, we're going to fight to give you 20, 25 carries in this ball game, and then we'll split up the remaining 20 how we see fit. But there are certain things like what he said, what you hear Marcus Satterfield saying there. I go, okay, I understand that. What is a coach supposed to say? What is he? Is he going to come in and say, hey, we're in panic mode. Everything that we've worked on isn't working. Last weekend, for example, by the way, South Carolina ran it 34 times. Kevin Harris had 16 carries. Luke Doty had 6. Luke was the next highest carry guy for South Carolina, 6 for 1 yard. But Kevin Harris had 16 carries. So they started to lock in on Kevin Harris last week. 5 carries for Zaquandre White, 5 for Marshawn Lloyd. Is that the same formula that we end up seeing this coming weekend with Kevin Harris being the lead guy? And by the way, the 16 for 31, you go back and look at Kevin Harris's rushing kind of over his first 2 years. When they played really good defenses like that, that's tended to have been the norm for him. And LSU last year, Mississippi, bad defenses. Maybe the one anomaly is Kentucky, where he had the wild 210-yard game, and South Carolina still gets blown out. But just something to keep an eye on. That's what I want to see more is when you say something like, we're going to narrow it down to one back and get guys the ball. Is that how you're going to go about doing it?
Patrick, what do you think? Where is Carolina going to go from here with the running back situation? Because he also talked about, Marcus Satterfield did yesterday, about Juju McDowell being in the game but not getting a touch and how that's a failure on his part.
Well, yeah, I mean, you need to stay on the field and have these long extended drives to at least get these guys comfortable. So when you were comparing him to Aaron Rodgers, I was just thinking, I mean, Aaron Rodgers had the benefit of the doubt, and when Marcus Satterfield, if he says, oh, it's just one game, well, it's really not. It's 3 games in South Carolina. I'm just looking at the SEC standings right now, and they're second to worst in every offensive category except rushing yards per game. They're bottom 5 in the SEC in that, though. But the offense just has been stagnant. So I don't know what the change is going to be. I mean, I like the idea of a bell cow, but when all you hear about is all these guys that can do different things, if you try to give Kevin Harris his game and you give him 15 carries in the first half and just nothing's happening, and you decide that Kentucky can be had on the perimeter, then that's just what you have to do. It's a Juju McDowell game, even though he didn't touch the ball last week. It might be his week this week. I don't know, but I don't fault anybody for being nervous or hesitant or just saying that they haven't been impressed by what they've seen so far. And maybe you're right. Maybe he has just been waiting for Luke Doty to come back and open everything up, and that unlocks the running game. That unlocks everything. But to look at this, we always play the schedule game. You have to, and it's fun to do so when we say, oh, if you beat Kentucky, you could be looking at 6-1. But so far, you didn't lead for 1 second of the game against East Carolina, and then you just got whooped by Georgia, and we're sitting here talking about being 6-1. It's just kind of funny when you look at the big picture. Like, there's no reason to be thinking that way.
Well, I think there are some reasons, because Carolina, they scored a few points on a Georgia defense that we all agree is, if not the best in the country, it's top 2, right? What, are you putting them and Alabama up there? And Alabama seems to not be necessarily the best defense in the country. Who else would you put up there, Patrick?
Clemson's
defense didn't give up a touchdown yet. Okay, that's very fair. But we just hadn't seen Josh Vann be this version of Josh Vann.
Yeah.
And to do it against Eastern Illinois and East Carolina, okay, but he went and did it against Georgia. And maybe you're saying it wasn't necessarily in the most competitive time if you're the most skeptical at this point. Okay. And running backs we know have done it before. We haven't seen them do it in this system. I think, Bill, to me, that's the biggest concern going into this game is, can you see the running game be productive? I think we all agree. I think all fans agree with Marcus Satterfield's philosophy that, hey, man, you got to get a running back in a rhythm and you don't want to have it by committee. And that's the philosophy going in. But then reality happens, and it's much more difficult when you're struggling in the run game. When you're just not getting on track, then all right, how much, and we talked about this through the years, right? How much do you stay hard-headed and stubborn and continue to try to make that run game happen because you know you need it? And then how much do you need to make an adjustment and try to exploit other areas of the defense that they seem to be giving you? That's where this game on Saturday night, fascinating to me from Marcus Satterfield's standpoint, assuming it's not just instant success for Carolina in the run game. How hard-headed will he be, and then how much success can they eventually have, or are they that team this year? There's that possibility too.
Well, I think some of it is you want to see some creativeness in terms of getting the ball into space to guys. You saw that a little bit against East Carolina. It was kind of a weird circle back orbit play to Amarion Brown, I believe, in the first half. But we talk about Juju McDowell just getting touches. It doesn't have to be out of the running back spot. You can swing him out on a screen. You can line him up at wide receiver and throw him a quick screen. Put him in a situation where it's 1-on-1. I think that's what I'm interested to see more from Marcus Satterfield. Now, maybe the one disappointment is we haven't seen just some creative play calls to get your few dynamic playmakers. McDowell looks like one. Amarion Brown's a guy who's got speed and again has some proven college production. Josh Vann right now is certainly looking different. But to get guys out on the perimeter and give them a chance to be in a one-on-one situation, make a guy miss and be able to take the ball the distance. And so it does feel like, while I agree with you, I don't necessarily put this all on the running game. I put it on being a little creative and being able to utilize the full 52 yards of the field, sideline to sideline. Get the ball to the perimeter and just let some of your guys do their work. Again, I don't think you have to turn around and hand the ball to Juju McDowell to say, all right, we got him touches. Last week, I will say, if people say, well, throw more screens, they did try a screen to start the second half last week. That was the pass that Luke Doty threw behind Kevin Harris, and he tipped it, and it got intercepted, and Georgia went down and made it a 33-6 game. So they've given some screens a chance, but I'm more interested to see the creativeness in trying to get some of these guys the football. I mean, I don't know what that play call was to Jaheim Bell against East Carolina that got intercepted early in that game, but it feels like whatever it was, they've gone away from it, right? We hadn't seen it since then. The tight end, any kind of tight end passes. You've seen a few like little tight end screens, but it feels like it's not been very creative to get the tight ends into spots to get them the ball and let them go to work. So that's more of what I look for actually this week, as opposed to just saying, all right, can you line up and stay with the run, or do you change the run game some?
We'll see how creative we can get. Kick off the second half of the show coming up next with a comment from Marcus Satterfield on his quarterback situation. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
Live, local, and free. That's how we do sports.
Weekend coming. You need a great night of sleep. A lot of great college football on this weekend. And if you're not rested, refreshed, and ready to go, well, you're going to sleep through some of it on Saturday, maybe miss some NFL on Sunday. Ryder Cup is this weekend as well. You don't want to miss some great sports this coming weekend. You need a great night of sleep. Bill Gunner for Sleep Number. I put my sleep number setting on 45. Adjust the bed to the level that I like and get a fantastic night of sleep. You can do the same. Proven quality sleep. It is indeed life-changing sleep. Right now, save $1,000 on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed plus special financing, subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See sleepnumber.com for details. However, this deal ends Monday. Don't miss it. Get over to a Sleep Number store today and check out all the great savings. 2 to choose from. 1 in Irmo on Harbison Boulevard, across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, Two Notch Road, across from Sand Hills Mall. You can visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. Again, it's life-proven quality sleep. It is indeed life-changing sleep. And right now you can save $1,000 on the Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed plus special financing, but it ends Monday. So make the switch to Sleep Number today and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like.
Jen's got a buddy there. Yes. Somebody hit us up with a picture of the old SEC Nation bus.
Yep.
How fun.
Well, in town.
Who do you think's driving that thing? The production crew, and then everybody just flies in and meets them on game day?
Feinbaum's driving it.
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm.
Feinbaum does his show from Charlotte, right?
Yeah, but he's doing it Friday from the Horseshoe tomorrow.
Oh.
I imagine they just plain have a bus driver, like.
So all the SEC people are actually going to be in Columbia tomorrow.
Some of them at least. Yeah. I don't know what Tebow's schedule is these days. If he flies right in the morning and flies out, I would assume they do Friday night. I'm sure that's what
he might have some old Firefly friends he wants to catch up with.
There you go.
Nobody does. Doesn't he do First Take on Friday mornings now?
What's that, Patrick?
Doesn't he do First Take every Friday now?
Does he, Tebow?
I think he does. I don't know if it's Friday or Monday wrapping up. I'm sure it's Friday. I think he does First Take every Friday.
That makes sense that they would make that part of the deal in college football season.
Mm-hmm. And Urban's the Monday guest. I haven't watched, but that's what I read a couple weeks ago. I ordered a Bill, you'll be proud. I ordered a little comb and some mustache wax so that I can try to curl it.
Well, this will be an adventure to follow.
That is bold. Bold,
Next week, I might be able to have it curled out at the end.
Hey, I like the progress there.
You mean they play for a different organization? Yeah, they're not a Mets affiliate anymore. They're a Royals affiliate now, Shane.
So I want to. I guess was there Mets like scouts or something that would have been in Columbia, or is the Firefly organization that's here, and then they just switch working for the Mets to the Royals? I guess.
Yeah, I think that's how that worked. I mean, it was a massive reorganization for minor league baseball here recently. So this one will need to be a quick segment. We've got the doctor coming up after this.
Lovely.
Yes, for sure. Because you have or almost a 5-minute break.
So what should we even do here?
I was to say, I don't know. I almost feel like I should keep rolling.
Yeah, if you can combine them, that would be great.
Just to make it really long, but
Maybe move
You want to slide some to the 8 o'clock hour?
yeah, I got
or
a
the
little bit of room to
7:50
play.
or the 7:57 because there's no time.
Yeah, sometimes I'll add a little something in there. So yeah, for sure. That just means, Bill, let me slide your Love Chevy to 840. So 840 Love Chevy. I'll buy us a minute.
Is the Firefly season over now?
I think they got a couple more games. They usually go about as long as the major league season.
Thought I saw something.
Maybe a week or two shorter, and then they have playoffs, right?
Well, shorter. It's a shorter season this year, right?
Is it?
I thought it was. I thought they were playing less games
I didn't think so. Why?
because of COVID shortened season, and their scheduling was not as. They were only scheduling like local teams.
They did, I think, change up the divisions and the whole thing, but maybe. I just know they haven't been very good from a losses standpoint.
Yeah, their season's over.
Oh wow, missed it.
Their last game appears to have been Sunday. They gave away Antique Firefly's 10 sign. That's kind of cool.
That is, shoot.
I missed Wands and Wizards night on Saturday as well.
All right. This is the
David
last.
Wright.
This is the last
Sorry.
time. Dr. Pollock is ready.
Okay, and we're good to go to 7:57.
You are.
You're 54.
Yep.
What are Chuck and Z ordering?
Maybe the sign?
I don't know. I think I've only ever been to one Fireflies game, maybe two.
they're fun. You know, you just need to think of going more often.
I mean, it's quite literally a 5-minute walk from my house, max. It's like a quarter mile from where I'm sitting right now. I've watched the fireworks from my bed the last couple Saturdays.
I guess you're up.
Finally, going to get some words of wisdom on the program. We've been doing it for about an hour and 45 minutes this morning. We go out to the Love Chevy phone lines where Dr. Matt Pollock from Prisma Health Orthopedics joins us. And I'm wondering, I know we're going to get into concussions here, and that's one of your areas of expertise, being a USC team physician.
10 years or so, Matt. What's more, dealing with concussions or dealing with raising little kids, man? I mean, maybe I'm a little biased right now because I have the little kids as well.
Sure. It's a toss up, and I kind of should. So I take the big time out.
Gotcha, man. From the football perspective, I think most of us that watch football on a weekly basis, year to year, we see the big hits, and then we see the medical staff immediately on the field and checking guys out. We're used to that, but it's not just those big hits that can result in the concussions. There's even a non-contact. How is a non-contact injury dealt with in the concussion world as well? Can you enlighten us on that this morning?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, really, it's all having to do with the trauma to the brain, like pointed out in the easy ones we have to kind of consider the easier to identify the big hits. There's a lot of stuff that happens, kind of small injuries. We have a lot of kids, high school wise, middle school, other colleges that, kind of come in with reported injuries. There's a lot of just even kind of whiplash type concussions that concur. Anything that really kind of allows movement of the brain inside the skull and enough to produce symptoms. So the big one's a little easier to identify. Some of the smaller hits can kind of surprise you, which makes it interesting, trying to really kind of pick them out. We're lucky to have good athletic trainers out there with us, with USC, but also with all of our other schools around there that helping out, watching the kids.
He's Dr. Matt Pollock with Prisma Health Orthopedics. Matt, the one that gets me is also when you see, especially a quarterback, a lot of times will take a hit or go down, and then you see the head hitting the ground as well. I'm sure that's a major concern and something you guys have to deal with a lot, not just the player-to-player contact, but the head-to-ground type contact of concussion.
Sure, and sometimes that's even kind of the second injury, initial hit, and then the head actually ricocheting off the ground as well. So, neck strength certainly kind of helps some, but even these big, strong athletes, you get enough contact, and there's going to be some shaking of the brain and leading to symptoms that kind of causing issues for them.
You've been doing it for 10 years with USC Athletics specifically. How has the knowledge and kind of the treatment, the environment changed around dealing with concussions in your 10-year span?
I think a lot of it is the recognition factor of it. I think the other part of it too is really with all of the discussion and everything that's been out there in the media. It's a lot easier, I think, for the kids going through it, as well as with parents as well. Just sometimes I think these are kids who unfortunately aren't walking around with casts on their arms and crutches where people can kind of easily identify that there's something wrong with them. I think sometimes when kids have concussions, they almost kind of get looked at as, why aren't you back on the field? What's wrong with you? You look perfectly fine. And there's a lot of those things that you really can't see unless you really are talking to the kid or you're really walking in their shoes. So I think the education component of it has definitely helped. I think the coaches have a much better understanding. I think parents and even just the players themselves know a little bit better as far as what to look for. And so that makes our job as medical personnel a lot easier as far as trying to treat the concussions. But I think it also allows these things to get picked up a lot quicker than it would have otherwise, which in ultimate kind of endpoint gives better outcomes to the athletes as well.
Again, Dr. Matt Pollock joining us from Prisma Health Orthopedics. You can check out their Black and Blue Clinic on Saturdays from 8 to noon, 101 Business Park Boulevard in the Northeast. And that's for local athletes who you don't need an appointment going in. You actually don't take appointments just to check out any kind of injuries from the night before, typically with high school athletics. Matt, I'm wondering, for parents out there who might be concerned if their child might have a concussion, is there any kind of common sense advice you can give them to check for a sign there to get them to a medical professional from that answer, or any kind of sign they should look for initially?
Sure. So I think, the obvious symptoms that everybody's always aware of are the headaches. We always worry about loss of consciousness is kind of a big one, but I would certainly say the vast majority of athletes with concussions really aren't losing consciousness. So, anything where really their child looks just off, they're having issues as far as dizziness, they're not focusing well, even kind of vague things like just lights and noise kind of bother them more than normal. They're moodier than normal, which obviously is always a little tricky when you're dealing with adolescents and teenagers, as I think probably all parents would tell you. I think again, most of the schools out there have athletic trainers that are working with the schools, which are a great resource, and hopefully they're out there on the field with a lot of the sports to help identify early signs. But really anything that just kind of looks off, especially after there was any type of an injury, or even just after practice. We see a lot of kids that they don't really recall a specific hit, and there's really not anything you can go back and you can look through on the game film that really shows an actual specific hit that really brought it on. But they feel okay during practice. By the end of it, they're starting to get headaches. They feel off. They're feeling foggy and just out of it. So really just kind of being attuned to what your kids are kind of talking about and kind of how they're looking. And certainly, any concerns at all, we're more than happy to take a look and see. And certainly it's not unusual that we have kids that come into the office who, after examination and really talking through them, really turns out it wasn't a concussion. They had something else going on. Maybe they're a little under the weather, but certainly we have a kind of little lower threshold for trying to kind of examine kids and possibly hold them out if need be.
Moodier than normal, a phrase that I just got from Dr. Matt Pollock there, Prisma Health Orthopedics. Now, you are not going to endorse using that at home with your spouse, correct?
Probably not. Probably going to hold off on that one. So.
Well, it sounds like if you need to use that, you can attribute that to Dr. Matt. He'll take the heat for you over there at Prisma Health Orthopedics. You can go see him on Saturdays. The Black and Blue Clinic open from 8 until noon for local athletes here. Dr. Matt's worked with USC Athletics for the last 10 years. And in that experience, Matt, I know you guys get to be on the sidelines, and especially at Williams-Brice Stadium, you can feel the electricity and the environment and the whole thing. I'm sure even team doctors look forward to games like on Saturday night, where you're expecting a near sellout crowd at this point, less than 1,000 tickets left.
Oh yeah, definitely. Nighttime SEC home games are always a lot of fun, and especially with the new coaching staff that they've got, it's really brought a lot of energy to the fans, a lot of energy to the kids as well. It's been really a lot of fun this year to be around it again.
No doubt about it. Dr. Matt Pollock from Prisma Health Orthopedics. We appreciate the time and the knowledge. And speaking of energy and kids, I know you're going to need as much as you can get, kind of like I do around my house, to keep up with yours. So good luck with that, especially.
I appreciate it. You guys have a good morning. Thanks a lot.
Dr. Matt Pollock, Prisma Health Orthopedics. Appreciate his time and expertise there. I'm sure plenty of people have listened to this show and wondered if we were dealing with concussions multiple times. I think that's pretty much you, Patrick, probably more than anyone else. And I mean that as a compliment with all sincerity. Hope you take that
the good kind?
Yeah, it's the good kind of concussion. No, I don't think we
I take everything in the right way, and even if it's intended to be mean.
Really?
I just take everything as a compliment.
Yes,
yeah.
You're always very even keel on the show, and you never come right.
People call me Positive Patrick.
I've heard that's what we're referring to you. I missed 3 days, and we changed it from negative Carrot to Positive Patrick.
People with concussions call him Positive Patrick.
Yeah, that's true.
Hour
15.
3, Carolina, Kentucky talk. Plenty from Marcus Satterfield and yesterday's media availability. With quarterback situation yet again for the Gamecocks. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
All right, Bill, you want to do that thing?
Yeah. Click me out. Let's make it happen, Captain.
See,
Skydivers having to basically jump out of a plane after another plane collides into their plane.
no. What?
I just saw it on Twitter yesterday. Apparently, it just went re-viral again from like 2013 or 2014. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. A plane just flies into them. They're all standing there on the edge, ready to jump out, but the other plane flies into them, and they're basically thrown out of the plane. And they're filming, and you can see the guy spinning around, and he looks up, and both the planes are on fire and just crash to the ground.
Ooh. I hope there weren't any major injuries involved in this.
I don't think anyone got hurt.
Whoa. That's
It
great.
happened on the Wisconsin-Minnesota state line in 2013.
Wow.
The pilot and all the passengers jumped to safety. Fortunately, both planes were carrying skydivers. The collision resulted in minor injuries to two of them, I guess, just from being thrown into the wall or something.
Wow. That's nuts. So the actual skydiving resulted in no injuries, but the being in the plane ready to jump out where you collided with another plane. Holy.
Yeah. I will never skydive.
No, me either, man. Like, I'm only jumping out of a plane if that's my only option. That's it.
Never bungee jump. I think I'd skydive before bungee jumping, though.
I mean, that's got to be the dumbest one, right? If that's the old bungee jumping accident.
Yeah, the accident, I just feel like it would hurt my neck the way you're bouncing around. And at least with skydiving, you would get to see a pretty incredible view.
I get scared on a tall rug. That's pretty good, Craig. If all goes well, I think it's just a matter of that foot there, Danny. And they put the oar back on the old depth chart, and you'll hear what Marcus Satterfield had to say about it exactly. That's the only reason I brought up the quarterback situation. I wouldn't call it a controversy. That is a great line. Get scared on a tall rug. I think the older I get, the more heights bother me.
I don't know if it's heights for me. It's just doing things that the worst case scenario is death. I don't really mess with.
Why?
Back into an interesting portion of the live stream.
Robin's given tips about backup chutes for parachuting, skydiving. More, she goes a little bit more safe than bungee jumping.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be necessarily thinking going into it. I guess I wouldn't expect to not have my chute pull and die, but my biggest concern with skydiving would be that I would embarrass myself by getting up and looking out the window and not jumping, and they have to land on the plane. And I'm that guy that they have to wait to land.
No skydiving.
Are they? Is it like a crime to push someone out of a plane?
Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's frowned upon.
Like, if you're skydiving, if I'm skydiving like with one of my friends and I'm just standing there on the edge and I'm not ready to do it and they shove me,
I'm
is that
pretty
allowed?
sure. Yeah,
Might depend on the outcome.
I'm pretty sure that is similar to a lot of things where no means no.
Yeah.
Now, I think if you're in Argentina or Colombia down there, where being pushed out of a plane is probably what Tim, you act like I had to take a college class on the South American death squads. Did you ever read about those or stuff that happened over there in the 80s and the early 90s?
No.
Yeah, they'd round up people like these death squads. It actually was fascinating stuff. It was awful stuff, I mean, it was part of the history stuff, but they would, like round up people, fly them out over the ocean, just push them out into the ocean.
We talking about like cartels? We talking government? What are we talking?
Yeah, it was like government death squads and stuff. Like it's interesting stuff.
So in America, how would that hold up in a court of law? If everything went fine and I landed, but I was just mad and I got on the ground, I was like, "What's wrong with you? I wasn't gonna jump," and I sued my friend for, like causing me anxiety or something like that.
I think you
No.
win.
Because you were already strapped up to do it. Like you signed
Frivolous.
up, you signed the waiver. Yep.
Get out of my court.
No,
Maybe
that's actually a good point. Aren't you strapped to another person?
Yeah, you
I
have
think
to be
at first you have to be, right?
I thought it's like a lot of jumps before you're allowed to jump by yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a handful at least, I think. Right. You slipped.
Yeah. Told you not to eat bananas up in that plane, man.
Well, that's the Bert Kreischer where he does his comedy bit about jumping out of the plane with Rachel Ray.
Right.
He's like, he says he gets scared, and Rachel Ray hops up with her guy. They just, what do you say, Andy and Sandy it over to the thing, like wop bada doo da wop bop bam. She posts up at 30,000 feet. It's like, I'm Rachel Ray and I'm jumping out of a plane, yummo, whatever, and just whoosh.
Oh my gosh.
He says he freaked out and latched on to the boom mic guy or whatever, grabbed the camera guy, and he said the boom mic, it turned into an MMA fight. They're like whacking him with the boom mic. Get him down.
Yeah, Patrick, you can definitely ask Lisa tomorrow.
Yeah, that would.
That's what that needs to be part of Sport Court, right? Random legal questions that have come up throughout the week.
It does actually. That would be a good segment. Just throw at her, yeah.
Do you own a barometer? When's the last time you participated in a litmus test? Can you sue someone who pushes you out of a plane when you're skydiving?
The pushing you out of the plane, I don't think it's much different than like the doctor not telling you when he's going to give you the shot. He's just talking. Jab.
There you go.
What a bedside manner.
Yeah.
Talking.
Wait,
Yeah.
you want to know when the shot's coming?
No.
Okay.
The stress of the shot is the worst part. I hate getting shots.
Go teach somebody, Robin. It sounds important.
Good luck. Go educate, Robin. Go educate. The great line, RL. Your Honor, plaintiff was wearing a parachute and standing at the exit.
They knew what they were doing, yeah. They were asking for it. I mean,
Not a girl.
is that the same of if you're on a cruise ship? If you're on a cruise ship, somebody's wearing a life jacket and standing next to the railing, and you push them in and be like, well, they're wearing a life jacket standing right next to the railing.
That might be a little different.
Only if you're skydiving into the ocean.
Look at that. Way to marry it all together. All right, we're in the open.
2 breaks.
I'd rather dive into the ocean.
2 breaks.
I'd be worried about an ankle upon
Buford
landing.
and the Love Chevy at 8:40. And Carrie at 8:45.
Let's start with 3, please. Off the top here.
Okay.
He can do and all that. I think he gets confidence. He's moving. He's still not 100%, but he's moving around a lot better.
And has Zeb still got the bandage on his hand? And where's he at? Sort of. all that?
He's still. I mean, it's going to be taped up for a while, I'm sure. But he was out there throwing the ball around today and looked good and made some really good throws. So again, I'm sure in this, but just going through the week and seeing how, at the end of the week how both of them are feeling, and at the end of the week we'll know which direction we're going.
Carolina offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield, yet again, waiting to the end of the week to figure out the quarterback situation. I was surprised yesterday on his take on Luke Doty when he told us 8 to 11 plays is about all he's gotten in the last several weeks going into that Georgia game of actually practicing 11 on 11 and being out there. And that's one of the reasons why he said he was as impressed with Luke Doty as he was with what he did against a really good Georgia defense. Now, how that foot responds, I think, is kind of the question mark, if there is one, for Carolina at quarterback this week. Technically going with the or on the depth chart of Luke Doty or Zeb Nolan as the starter. Also, the health of that hand for Nolan and being able to throw. I believe I saw a picture yesterday, forget who put it up exactly, of the middle finger and ring finger being taped together is the only tape that was shown in the press conference anyway. Not that bulky kind of tape job that they did on the sidelines on Saturday, where Zeb said if he had to come in, he could have, but they would have had to take off that tape, and still didn't have all the feeling in his hand from that thing. I thought the one interesting part, the most interesting part of the comments I heard from Zeb Nolan yesterday, Bill, that when he went back in the locker room after getting his hand stepped on for treatment, that his dad texted him to get his butt back out to the sideline. Like, I was just wondering, how does that work? As soon as you go back in the locker room, you grab your phone these days? Is that what players do? Are they checking Twitter? What are they doing?
Yeah. Do you have a personal assistant that's over there with your cell phone, runs it over to you? Hey, your dad sent you a text message. You might want to respond.
Also, do all the parents just get to walk on the field? Because his dad was, as soon as he got his hand stepped on, his dad's like on the field behind the hedges.
No. Have you never been to Athens?
I've never been into the stadium. No.
The right behind the hedges, there's a huge walkway that you can kind of walk right there, and then it's not on the field. There's a
so it's kind of like how you can get right up there at the student section, right?
Exactly.
Basically, only bushes between you and the end zone.
Exactly.
So it looked like he was just wandering up and down the Gamecocks bench from the TV angle.
But
there's a huge. You can actually walk.
Coach,
yeah.
So I'm guessing he might be able to persuade his way into some situations that some of us might not. As well, there is that. But I think it's a relatively good situation. We talked about how it didn't make much sense that Zeb Nolan was going to start the game last week if Luke Doty was healthy enough to play. And from what I'm hearing from Marcus Satterfield is that they just didn't think he was healthy enough to start and play the whole game. That's what I'm hearing. But he was healthy enough to be the second option. And that's what happened last week, and he actually came in and played really well, and I think maybe better even than some of the coaches expected is what I'm hearing. Bill, what about you?
I again, not to be critical of a young man, but I think now it's very clear that Jason Brown was a miss on the recruiting trail. I know people have talked about the numbers at St. Francis and FCS, but it's clear that he's not ready because, and I only say that because one thing that did catch my attention is for everything we've heard about Luke Doty the last few weeks, for Marcus Satterfield to basically say, Thursday was the first time he got 11 on 11 action when we've seen him dressed out for the previous two games. It makes me wonder what exactly he's been doing in practice. Like, has he been just going on 7-on-7 versus air? Is it so he hadn't been taking the live reps? That lets me know that he's been a little bit more, he's maybe a little bit further behind than we've been led to believe.
And that's why I think it's not a slam dunk that you see him on Saturday night necessarily, just because of kind of what we've heard in weeks past. And then that admission, I feel like is what Marcus Satterfield gave us yesterday, that no, he hadn't hardly practiced at all from a practical standpoint of 11 on 11 and going preparing in that way.
Because if you go back and you listen to Satterfield, one thing he says that caught my attention, and it's kind of a one-line sentence, is basically he admits, like, well, I kind of didn't really expect him to play at all. I mean, he comes out and flat says so. I mean, clearly going in, their anticipation was that he was not going to play. They were going to go the whole game with Zeb Nolan. And I will say, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't want to necessarily go down this path, but it is kind of a question I guess I would have now as I sit here on Thursday. If Zeb Nolan plays the entire game and it's 40-13, are people feeling worse? Like I kind of, the fact that I was able to see Luke Doty play, and the fact that, again, his numbers were about on par with what I saw last year, right? Like I think he was 13 of 23 for 150 yards. I think I'm missing maybe a pass or completion or something. The interception he threw was not, I mean, it was his fault. He threw it behind Kevin Harris, but it did hit Kevin Harris in the hands. The fumble, I mean, yeah, he needs to hold on to it, but somebody probably would preferably block that end and not let him get crushed on the backside. I just say this, like 40-13, I didn't have high expectations to begin with. If I had been with y'all on Friday, I probably would have taken South Carolina to cover the spread of 31. Did y'all do 31.5? Is that what y'all ended up
30
doing?
and a half.
30.5. So yeah, well, 31.5, given that's one of those key numbers in the hook there. But I probably still would have taken South Carolina to cover the 30.5. But with that being said, I feel like as a fan, you go, okay, we know what Georgia is. And, Patrick might be onto something about them being the national type. Certainly they're right now a top 3 team in the country, maybe top 2, maybe even number 1 right now when you look at how they're playing. But with all that being said, the fact that Luke Doty played, and I thought was serviceable and had some moments, had some nice long passes. Yeah, he missed some too. There's no doubt he missed some. But, guys, it kind of made me come out of that victory going, all right, you accomplished a few things that you can take forward going into this week. I would hate to be having the conversation this week. Wait, is it Noland or Doty now? And doing that. Like, I feel it's Luke Doty. And I feel like South Carolina might actually be in a better place because of that.
Well, I feel like any South Carolina fan who's super confident about this weekend and is looking ahead saying, all right, just win this one and we got a good chance at 6-1. That has to be because of Luke Doty, right? Because if you just look at it from the zoomed out version, what have you done? Yeah, you shut out one of the worst teams in all of Division I football. You didn't lead for a second of the game when you beat the Group of 5 team, and then you lost by 27. So just from a very zoomed out version with no context, you shouldn't be super confident about the team this year. And your most experienced position group, your offensive line, has been possibly your worst position group so far this season. Just all those things, taking those in as factors, you would think that you wouldn't be confident. Plus, Kentucky is a high-powered offense. South Carolina has been the second least productive offense in the conference. And I guess it's just Luke Doty and the combination of Kentucky showed that they were beatable because they played Chattanooga close. But, I mean, realistically, the only thing that you say, here's why we're going to win this game, is because now we got our guy under center.
Yeah, and again, I think it's an interesting week for the defense because I've seen the defense dominate 2 inferior opponents. Although, I don't know, East Carolina's offense, maybe they were stuck in neutral until the fourth quarter of that Marshall game. But what I will say is that it's a big week. You felt like the defense is okay. The defense is okay. Now, this week might be wrong. You go out there, defense goes out there and gets crushed this week, and then you go, okay, obviously the first 2 games were because of the opponent, not because the defense has made large strides. Maybe that's the case as well. That very well could be the case. But I'll also say this. Vanderbilt is probably the second easiest game on this schedule. When you talk about getting past this week, Vanderbilt's probably the second easiest game. Nobody's giving Tennessee a lot of respect right now. I know that game's there, but given the 30-plus transfers, Josh Heupel, I think a lot of people just say, hey, if our defense can hold our own, we can find some form of a pass. If you can beat Kentucky, you should have a decent chance. And then Troy might be the most difficult of the next 3 games. That's not a bad Troy team. South Carolina should be favored, but South Carolina next weekend, I don't think will be favored by more than a touchdown. I would be surprised if South Carolina's favored by more than a touchdown next week against Troy. They are not a bad Sun Belt team, and I think that's what it is. You should be favored in 2 of those 3 games, Patrick. That's why people see that. And then Tennessee, again, you go up there, maybe you're a 3 or 4 point underdog. They're winnable games.
Yeah, but no, they're all winnable games. And if you beat Kentucky, you should expect to go 6-1. But that's the thing. Kentucky is by far the best team of the next
Right.
4 weeks. So even looking past Kentucky at all, assuming or even thinking about a win right now before playing the game just seems to be really a reach for South Carolina where they're at right now, where Kentucky seems to be at right now. That's all I'm saying, is that we're even contemplating looking ahead and saying once we beat Kentucky, or if we beat Kentucky, bang 6-1, because Kentucky is such a monumental task this weekend. Like, I really think Kentucky's a really good football team.
But that's the fun part of college football, right?
Yeah, and it's the fun part about not having to play the game.
In all honesty, I guess last year it picked back up after the Auburn game when South Carolina beat Auburn, and then we were like, oh, LSU stinks, and they're starting a freshman quarterback in TJ Finley, and one moron, I can't remember his name, but it's out there like, well, that's it. Muschamp's got he's got his bride. He's got Mike Bobo. This is it. This is the turning point. Does anybody remember who that moron was that enjoyed the Auburn game way too much? I can't remember who that was, but I mean, I guess there was excitement then, but there's still excitement for the season, and I do think this is the fun part, and it can crash. It can crash at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. It's been a long time since South Carolina's gotten into October. I know last year, because the season started late, we got into October. But it's been a while since South Carolina got into October with some excitement. And I think people want to feel that again. And you buy in a little bit, and you say, man, if we win this, we go into October with a chance for some fun things to happen. And right now, that's part of the Beamer positivity train that we've been on.
But also where college football is. I mean, Coastal Carolina is ranked, 16th in the country? Louisiana Lafayette went on a run last year. Teams go on runs and start playing with confidence and making winning plays a habit. We always go back to that Frank Martin line that he's dropped on us the last couple of years, that teams at some point in the season either learn how to win or learn how to lose. I think football, that definitely applies to football teams as well as college basketball teams. But you're right, Bill. This is the week. And I think Chad sums it up pretty good on the YouTube live stream with how Doty played after hearing he has hardly practiced. Gives me the impression that he has improved greatly from last year. I don't know how you come away with a different interpretation of Luke Doty after what you saw against Georgia. And I think you also have to admit from the Gamecock perspective that's necessary. The quarterback play has to be greatly improved from last year if you're going to have any chance of having a good season. Ted sees things a little differently, or something that I have not seen. He says, in my opinion, I still think the coaches believe Zeb Nolan is QB1. You guys with me in the opposite perspective on that? I'm not getting that at all. I think they think it's relatively close, but I haven't heard enough to believe that order is flipped if all things are being equal and both guys are healthy. Where are you guys on that?
Agreed.
You're with me on that?
You're agreeing with Tim?
Yeah.
I think Ted's just getting it from the last comment that Satterfield makes there, where he doesn't necessarily just hand Luke Doty the starting position. It sounded like that's what Beamer did on Tuesday, though, right? Am I misremembering how Beamer, again, I don't want to say that they're not on the same page. I don't know if it is kind of entertaining that during the end of preseason, it's Satterfield going, we really need to name a starting quarterback here out of Noland and Brown. We need to do that.
ASAP.
Well, then on Tuesday,
and
then on Tuesday of this week, you got your head coach basically saying, Doty's our starter, and then you got the guy who said, well, we need to name one, going, we'll find out more on Friday. We'll know more on Friday. So, but look, to me, it's interesting. It's all exciting just because I feel like every week I'm learning something about this staff, about this program. It's a new era of South Carolina football. And look, one of the things I'll be interested to see, guys, because I didn't get to talk to you as much the last few days. It's going early on. That environment is going to be wild. Tim, you've mentioned it to start the show. You had the little graphic up on the live stream. They are about 1,000 tickets shy of it being a complete sellout. 7 o'clock game. I'm sure people will be full-on tailgating for this game. People might start tailgating tonight, for all I know. There's a lot of energy and a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement. The emotions in that stadium early on are going to be through the roof. Can Shane Beamer himself control himself? Like I that's one thing that Shane's. It's okay to be excited and fiery. Look, we saw Dabo run down the hill in a 3.2 this past weekend. What did Dabo make it down to there? Dabo was flying, right?
He made it right to the internet is what he did.
I mean, what a run. But Shane's got to there's going to have to be a level of staying under control for his team, right? And not coming out too emotional.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I don't think that's anywhere close to your main concern in this thing. I think it's more the execution, and especially what the conversation has been this week. You got to have improved offensive line play. And several of you, I think, have brought up some similar concerns or perspectives. Jeff says, my optimism for going 3-0 through the next 3 games is mostly based on my belief that Luke Doty will play from here on out. Larry says, are we putting too much expectation on Doty? He still has only 3 full games in his career. If the offensive line shows up, Luke will look great. If not, we need to replace some of the offensive line and let the rookies play. Larry, I don't think you're going to see that happen. They're putting their best guys out there. Now, when your best guys don't play well, that is a massive concern. But there's a reason those guys are out there and the other guys aren't. I don't think making that personnel switch is going to give you better results. It's just going to give you different guys. And Michael says, remember, it's not the best team overall. It's the best team that day. If Gamecock Nation is serious, they need to listen to Coach Beamer and overload the stadium. Nothing like 2001 at night at Willie B. #GoCox for Michael. Oh, Michael, with less than 1,000 tickets left for this thing, I think Gamecock Nation heard that address that Shane Beamer looked right into the camera and gave him on Tuesday at his weekly press conference. It seems like stepping up to this point, and all the elements are there, Bill. And I think that's where your main point is right now, to have that possibility to even discuss 6-1 for a team that went 2-8 last season. When you look at it and you can see a path, right? That's part of the brilliance of college football year in and year out. And you can make that case. You just can, based off of the 3 games. Patrick, to your point on the other side, you can also make the case for a lot different record in the first 7 games this season. But what happens with Carolina and Kentucky going to be such a huge swing, you feel like, one way or the other coming out of that, from just a feeling of not just this season, but to me, the program and that positive energy and enthusiasm, Bill, you're talking about, that Shane Beamer has given the fan base, a fan base desperate for that, and now desperate for positive results on the field. That's what makes this matchup on Saturday night even more compelling than usual, because the South Carolina-Kentucky series has been really, really interesting for, the last 8-9 years, maybe even before that. Go back to 2010, right? When Shane Beamer brought up in his weekly press conference, still has nightmares of right after knocking off number 1 Alabama, going up to Kentucky and Randall Cobb and company knocking off the Gamecocks in Lexington that night. We'll continue to discuss, break it down, and love to hear your thoughts at 803-404-6100. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is Gamecock basketball head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Man, is it a great time to talk college football, especially here in Columbia, South Carolina. Also, a great time to check out your options in the housing market. You guys know the housing market has been ultra hot.
Talk to an expert to see what your options are. Buford Lending. That's who I recommend you give a call to right now. 843-524-2404. Benji Getsy and his team, experience with 25 years in the business. And no matter what your situation might be, maybe you're looking to refinance and get that interest rate down. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the numbers that Benji Getsy has shown me in my personal situation absolutely kind of blew my mind. Maybe you're looking to get a different type of loan, whatever it is, VA, FHA, USDA, conventional construction, renovation. Buford Lending and their team have been there. They've done that before. They're confident they can find you the best deal. And what you really need in a lender is someone who you can trust, who you know will be there with you every step of the way in the process. From firsthand experience, I can tell you Buford Lending can do that for you. Just give them a call, is all Benji Getsy asks. Put Buford Lending on your list of options. Let them show you what they can do for you. That's Buford Lending, 843-524-2404.
Or else what?
Uh-oh. We got anywhere else?
Watch, Chadwick said. It's all fine and good, but don't lobby to fill the stadium, then lose.
Then you're a terrible fan. That's how you're looking at it, man.
I mean,
then you're not going to support the team?
Or just not go back to games?
I mean, totally you're right, but don't call yourself a good fan.
Okay. I mean, the experience of the game is what you're paying for. You get to take back all the fun you had on Saturday if they lose.
Maybe his day is entirely tied to winning. He just sits at his tailgate in his Coleman chair waiting on the game.
Game face on.
Yeah. Somebody hands him a hot dog. He's just holding it. Game face. Yeah.
Shouldn't criticize too much. I might not go to a single game this year.
That's when you know you're getting old.
I mean, I'm not going to a single game in wins, Bryce.
Ooh, that's a good line. I don't know who's this guy on Twitter. He's one of those motivational guys. Tim Kite is his name. Your mind equals your weapon or your weakness. Your choice. Bum, bum, bum. Got George and Trent there on the text line. Pretty solid texts. And is David still on the line there, Jim?
No, he's not. He just was delivering that information. He's a coach, and Bill said
What was
something.
he even talking about?
I said
And
you
this
got
was
to
from
use the
earlier.
full 52.5 yards.
I just forgot to pass along and didn't want to forget.
53 1/3. Thank you there, David. Thank you so much. Which is still like the oddest thing of all time, right? Was it 160 feet? Is that the deal?
Yep.
160 feet in width, yeah.
So weird.
Every time I see a text that has more than 4 or 5 lines, I just click past it and wait for Tim to read it on the air.
Yep.
25-year-old attention span right there. That is your generation.
Yep. Bullet point society.
Chad, they say there are a bunch of them. I don't know if you'll ever hear anything other than that from this coaching staff or any college football coaching staff. Like, yeah, not many good players coming in this weekend. Don't worry about it.
I think I'm gonna. If your take is more than a sentence long, it's not hot enough. If you're typing 5 lines, you're providing far too much context, and it's not a hot take.
Work on efficiency. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Economy of words. I think you're just lazy when you read, personally.
When you what?
Well, and I just want the text to be like super,
Hyped
just
up.
super hot in either direction. Like, if we lose this game, Shane needs to be fired.
Oh,
One
there will
fifth
be
class.
there will be those people. Don't worry.
Thanks, Damon. I don't get to see all the fireworks. Some of the houses block it a little bit, but when they shoot the good ones, I get to see them over the top. No more though. The season's over.
We do number 3 coming back, Jen.
3.
What are we going to like 40?
Do at 8:45, right?
Carrie?
Hey, hold
Yeah.
on. I gotta take this. Hello.
One, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and we need to allow a good 6.5 minutes for the
So
next
need to
break.
be out by 8:40-ish.
Yes. That would be outstanding.
Feel free to just pot Bill down if he's going with the gas baggy hot take then. That'll be the new smooth transition to break. Oh, technical issues. We lost Bill. Got to take a break.
I think it would be funny if you just turned off the mics and just started the breaks and just said, I decided it was time to break. In the middle of a
Abruptly.
Thought that a time or two.
He's good. He's just I think mentally he's getting more confidence. I think the more that he can do in 11 on 11 and things like that, I think he gets confidence in the foot. He's moving. He's still not 100%, but he's moving around a lot better.
And has Zeb still got the bandage on his hand? Or where's he at? Sort of.
He's still. I mean, it's going to be taped up for a while, I'm sure. But he was out there throwing the ball around today and looked good and made some really good throws. So again, I'm sure y'all love hearing this, but just going through the week and seeing how both of them are feeling, and at the end of the week, we'll know which direction we're going.
Carolina offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield there talking about his quarterback situation from his perspective. That was yesterday. It will be interesting to see what happens this weekend. I think most of us feel like as long as Luke Jody's foot is okay, and that's why we didn't hear much conversation at all about it in Shane Beamer press conference. He basically said, yeah, Luke is going to be the guy, assuming everything is okay. George says, guys, the hype for this game feels and smells a lot like the hype for the Kentucky game in 2017. The stadium was going bonkers pre-game. Deebo Samuel scores a touchdown on the very first play from scrimmage. After that, our defense laid a big old egg in the punch bowl. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so too.
But I mean, it feels that way. I think. Wait a second. Let's keep going. I think Teddy D kind of speaks to my point here on the differences in the environment going into this game than that 2017 game. Teddy D on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. This game is important because we were so divided as a fan base when Shane was hired. He doesn't have to win this game to win over those of us wanting a different coach. He's done a great job winning us over, and I believe he's off to a good start. He does need to keep it close, though, and show we're on a similar playing field as Kentucky. A Kentucky blowout win would be the thing that starts us thinking, what have Hugh Freeze done? Keep it close, and we believe, Teddy D says. What do you think, Patrick?
I mean, I think this comparing it to 2017 is interesting, but I'm far more scared of this Kentucky team than I was that Kentucky team. And going back, I mean, they weren't incredible. It was just turnovers really were the story of that game, right? Like Kentucky, Benny Snell ran for 100 yards, a couple touchdowns, so that was problematic. But that was Steven Johnson at quarterback for them, and he threw for 169 yards and an interception, no touchdowns, nothing like that. This is a team that what's scary is that Kentucky has beaten us with a quarterback that barely throw. I'm gonna look this up for tomorrow. I'll have this stat for tomorrow. But what was touchdown Terry's best game against South Carolina? How many yards was it? Did he ever top 200 yards against South Carolina?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so either. And Will Levis can do that effortlessly. So yeah, I mean, I won't lie. I'm worried and scared of this Kentucky team.
Day says the offense actually laid a bigger egg back in 2017. We scored 6 points on our first play, didn't score again until it was 20-6 late in the ball game. The fact that Gamecock fans can have different perspectives on which side of the ball was worse in that 2017 game kind of speaks to how disappointed I think the entire fan base was in that particular game. You got to remember too, at that point, I think Gamecock fans were coming around to the idea that Will Muschamp might actually be the guy that he was supposed to be at Florida and could lead a program to sustain success in the whole deal. Maybe that whole Bill Belichick didn't work out his first game, his first head coaching job. You know, it's happened with other guys, Pete Carroll, whatever. But maybe that's exactly what this Will Muschamp situation was. And then that 2017 game happened, and I think it was a really difficult sell after that. Trent says, we're definitely an improved football team. I think Luke Doty played as well as could be expected Saturday. But I hope if we do lose to a Kentucky team that's better than us this year, people don't give up on this staff. And I think that speaks to Teddy's point, right? We talk about it all the time. There are losses and then there are bad losses. Or there are games that you just feel like the coaching staff cost you the game for whatever reason. There are mistakes made that are just unacceptable mistakes. What I think this Gamecock team needs to do to further encourage the fan base, minus winning the football, just winning obviously is number one, right? You take that out of there and say if that doesn't happen, what you need to see from the South Carolina football team on Saturday night is a team that does not beat itself, that does not have procedural penalties, delay of game penalties on offense, that doesn't look like it's undisciplined with stupid taunting penalties that they've already gotten the first few weeks. That would be an improvement, right? Also, much better communication on the offensive line or a much clearer scheme, whatever it is. You don't have random offensive linemen just wandering off one way or the other into the ether, putting their hands out. And Kentucky guys running free at your quarterback. I think if you have that situation, Patrick, then you're not going to be happy as a Gamecock fan you don't beat Kentucky. That's never going to happen. In my lifetime, I don't think that will ever happen. But I think you can maintain a certain level of confidence about the program, the new coaching staff moving forward, and you're not going to hold a Kentucky loss against the coaching staff, knowing Vegas has Kentucky as the favorite. There's a reason that Kentucky's favored to win the ball game. I understand you can be optimistic, you can be energetic, you can be enthusiastic and positive, and you can also still be realistic at the same time. Those things are possible, even though talk radio. A lot of times it seems like we like to convince you otherwise.
I'm positive and energetic and enthusiastic about the future too, but I will be picking Kentucky to cover tomorrow when we do our pick segment. I hadn't even fathomed though the idea of another taunting penalty. Oh my gosh! If that happens, I mean, Shane Beamer has to like lose his mind, right? You can't just calmly come into the press conference and say, "Yeah, that's not what we coach," because you know what? It would seem that way. 3 games in a row.
Wait a second, Patrick. You got to understand when these penalties have happened as well. I mean, you get a touchdown that is a game changer, and you get a taunting penalty in the end zone that costs you 15 yards on a kickoff. I don't think anybody's going to care. You're certainly not going to care that much, right? Well, you get a penalty that has an extreme negative impact on the game. I think the worst place you would want to be is at Williams-Brice Stadium. You would prefer to be on the road, right? Because there are going to be so many upset fans. And I feel like Beamer will just throw his hands up in disgust. And so will about 75,000 other people who are there at the game. And just maybe they'll put up – maybe the smart thing to do would be to put up a picture of Will Muschamp right? Just blame Muschamp on
Yes. Yeah.
put him up on the
Maybe.
video board and like, hey, yeah, that's his culture left over.
No.
And they're doing everything
No.
they can to move on, but there's just some
Not
things they
even.
can't do.
If it happens 3 games in a row, they're just not scared of Shane Beamer. That's what it is. He's too nice. That's what it'll be. That's what I'm going to be writing it off as. He doesn't get that mad. He doesn't yell at us. He's not going to rip us in practice. So I feel like I can get away with it.
See,
Oh,
I
man.
think it's
Never crossed my mind, though, until you just brought it up. That would be something if they got a 3rd one in a row.
I think the unfortunate part for Beamer and this coaching staff is they're at the place where the roster isn't talented, deep enough to where you can really punish guys who are at the top end making these plays and then doing the stupid penalties on top of it. You don't have that many options. You just aren't at that place. And if you're taking guys out of the game for a significant period of time, you're now hurting the team about as much as that penalty hurt you probably, or maybe even more. We got more when we come back. President Kerry Tharp, longtime USC Sports Information Director. He's seen a bunch of great environments on a Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. Interested to hear his thoughts around the Carolina program as well as what's going on the track. We'll do that next. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game. Flip this to the end of the break, Jim.
If he comes back on.
What's that?
Said if he comes back on.
Right. It's a good point, Mark. Yeah, you got the good cop, bad cop situation. But I feel like when it's a discipline issue like that is so clear that it's got to come from the top down, just like it has already, right? Beamer already, you've seen him last week was Josh Vann, got right in his face immediately after the taunting penalty and was talking to him, ended up giving him the head slap, the whole deal. Patrick, to your point is you will not accept any kind of good cop mentality if it happens yet again.
Not for stupid plays like that. The coach has to be the disciplinarian in that situation.
Well, yeah, sometimes the head coach, no matter the personality, has to be the bad guy. It's just how it works in college football. I remember listening to Brad Scott in his final press conference on his way out from South Carolina way back in the day on my way home from my junior year of college, Thanksgiving break, and thinking, man, I don't know if a big-time college football coach can be a nice guy. Seems like such a nice guy. I think that might have been why it didn't work out. You got to be able to flip that switch, man. I mean, that's where you want to see the Dabo Sweeney punter altercation, basically, or interaction from the ACC championship game a couple of years ago, Patrick, if that were to happen.
Yes.
And where the coach walks away and then he realizes, no, I still got to go after him.
Jen, you want me to do this when we come back, or you just want me to pop in real quick?
I'll put you after Gamecock Central.
Okay.
Yeah.
Patrick wants to see Luke Day holding Shane Beamer back.
That's what you need, yeah. By the belt or just fully?
Full restraint because Beamer just wants to knock his head off if there's another taunting penalty.
He had a good point about the guys are just like, oh, yeah, he's going to yell at me, but he'll hug me and put me back in.
Right.
Yeah, I want to know what it means if he goes all Beamer on him. Like, what is that?
If he goes full Beamer?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of all shucks, and you can't do that.
Right.
Right, but also how much are you hurting your offense? You put Van on the bench for a quarter.
Good question.
You're risking not winning your first SEC game as a head coach, to prove a point to your program, I'm guessing the coaching staff wouldn't see that as a worthy investment. I don't know. Maybe they.
Yeah, who knows? who be a knowing?
No, we saw Shane get pretty upset on the sideline against Georgia last week. I don't think it would be too weird to see him getting upset with a player like that.
He was kind of all over the map with emotions last week, wasn't he?
He should have been.
I don't know, Craig. I don't know where Jamar Brown's been. Yeah, unfortunately Jamar Brown got blamed for that one holding call. Poor Cam Smith was awful last week.
Out there might be a blood pressure issue for sure. Really? Kentucky's known for that?
They are. I have seen people say that.
That would be amazing. They did that during the game. Go run the stadium stairs.
That actually would be hilarious. You're just sitting there enjoying your nachos on 3rd and 7, and you see Josh Mann just go jogging by you.
Beamer comes up at his press conference, Gamecock Nation. This is how we're going to deal with it. You yell shame when they walk by, when they run by. We're going to get this fixed real quick, but I need your help.
Yeah. I was going to say, is it you yell shame or you just ignore them? Do not offer them food. Do not ask for
everything's
for a autograph.
One
Ignore
word.
them.
Shame. If you don't say that, don't say anything.
All right, we're in Las Vegas this weekend.
Yes.
Essentials that are even more rewarding with the Bank of America customized cash rewards credit card. You can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. The essentials have never felt more rewarding. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
A deeper connection with water can change, and that's what the home smart water movement does. It turns your everyday routine.
This is what I'm wearing. I've got a pullover over there.
All right, you got about 30 seconds.
Oh, that's wrong. Southeastern Orthopedic just called. They're going to try and get me in today.
All right, stand by.
I don't do very much.
Oh, that time of the year where tailgating combines with cars. You're not just thinking about family trips, although Thanksgiving, Christmas, really not far around the bend there. You need to get over to Love Chevrolet. Check out the great selection of Chevrolets at Love Chevrolet I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. See what is available. The great staff at Love Chevrolet ready to help you. That's why I enjoy going out there, not just because they're friendly, but because they're knowledgeable. From the second you come onto the lot looking for that brand new vehicle to the second that you drive off, they're going to make you feel comfortable with your purchase. Making a car purchase, it's a big deal. It's a lot of money you're going to spend. And the folks at Love Chevrolet, they're so knowledgeable about how a car or truck can help you with your everyday commute. It's extremely important to get that knowledge. That's why I go to Love Chevrolet, and that's why I recommend you go visit the great sales staff at Love Chevrolet. Of course, they've got the $1,000 low price guarantee, so they're going to help save you money. Of course, they've got the largest selection of Chevrolets anywhere in the Midlands. And of course, they've got great customer service, but it's the knowledge that stands out to me when I go over there and why I highly recommend you go visit Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
What in the world is happening with our NASCAR pick segment?
I want to know. Good thing we got an expert out there on the Love Chevy phone lines right now, joining us as always on a Thursday morning. Happy to have Darlington Raceway president, former longtime USC Sports Information Director Kerry Tharp joining us. 2 winners in a row for Reggie Anderson over there at WLTX. Kerry, what's going on here?
Well, I don't know. I guess that old movie Scarface, every dog has its day. But, I don't know. I mean, Reggie earlier in the year couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And now the last 2 weeks he's picked the winners. So, he's gotten himself back in the game a little bit. And, you use the word expert in introducing me, and I would definitely use that word loosely because I believe the expert is bringing up the rear in this contest.
Oh, interesting. In 4th place, but just 2 points behind both Jen and Reggie there, who are tied for second right now, and they are 12 points behind the self-proclaimed NASCAR guru of Bill Gunter over there.
That's right. Guru totally different than expert, and that's why I get that title.
Good point.
That's why he had to say just like 3 minutes ago. So where are we this week?
It's been a long week. Leave me alone.
Well, big transition from Bristol out to Vegas, and now from 16 down to 12. Kerry, what do you make of the playoffs as they've evolved?
Well, I think they've been very exciting, starting here at Darlington a few weeks ago with Denny Hamlin winning his first race of the season, and then Truex won the following week. And I really liked the race last week. It kind of reminded me of old Bristol there with tempers flaring at the end of the race with Harvick and Chase Elliott. And Kyle Larson getting his first Cup win at Bristol, and now we're down to 8 drivers. We lost 4 along the way, but it's going to be another three race segment here. Now we go to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, then we go to Talladega Super Speedway, and then we do the Charlotte Roval. So I like the way that the playoffs are set up. I really love the cutoff races: Bristol, Charlotte, and Martinsville. And I think so far the competition has been very, very fierce, and I think it's only going to get better as we move along.
All right, this weekend's race, Sunday night, 7 o'clock, NBC Sports Network. Who you going with, Kerry? Let's get right to the picks.
Well, I want to go with somebody who I think is probably, wants to get another win, and it's his hometown, but he's out of the playoffs now. I'm going to go with Kurt Busch. That's a little bit of a long shot, but hey, I'm swinging for the fences right now. So I'm going for Kurt Busch to win Sunday night at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Saw Jen nodding her head along and then maybe pause with that pick. Jen, what are you thinking?
Oh, gosh. I tell you what, my heart wants Matty D to come through with a win because he's been the runner-up for the past 2 years. I would just love to see this cat get, but I gotta play it safe. I'm going to say Larson.
It's a good pick, Jim. It's a good pick. That's a wise choice. That is playing it safe, giving yourself a chance. Give me Denny Hamlin. I'm riding my guy here to the finish. I've allowed you guys to come back and make this a little bit closer than it should have. So I'm riding my top horse out. Give me Denny Hamlin. I think it was 3rd or 4th here in the spring. He had a good showing. I'll go Hamlin here this week.
Very interesting. Follow at Jen Jensen Morse to see who Reggie ends up picking for this thing. He's going for 3 straight winners. What's our record on this thing, Bill? Do you have the record of winners in a row? I think you might have picked a couple in a row at least. I think 3 might.
It was like 2 years ago. I hit the first 3. I think.
Right, so we could tie the record of the long-standing, very prestigious NASCAR picks contest we've had here on the early game, led by Darlington Raceway President Kerry Tharp. Kerry, as always, appreciate the time and be pulling for your guy this weekend to get you back towards the top and close that gap with Bill in the NASCAR pick segment.
Sounds good. I need all the help I can.
45
weekend.
At Kerry_Tharp. You do as well, sir. You can follow Kerry on Twitter at Kerry_Tharp. Final thoughts of the program here. Carolina, Kentucky discussion. Really a fun one. That's what I take away from today. And
30.
Man, crossroads, litmus test, barometer, however you want to put it, Bill. I think it's going to be massive what happened Saturday night at Williams-Brice.
It's a lot of fun to get to talk about it.
15.
Chance to build on something bigger. I look forward to doing it again tomorrow.
Patrick, will you or will you not be using wax on your mustache for tomorrow's show?
No, it's not going to get here till Monday. I've been tracking it. Sorry.
Bummer.
Victory wax.
Victory wax.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia. All the time. 175 The Game.
I went a whole other visual when I heard the term victory.
A
wax.
new catchphrase is born. Victory wax.
Totally different direction.
All right. Nice job. That's right, York. You can go booze it up at Willie B tomorrow if you want to. Club 2001 open 4 to 7, I think is the time. I'm glad you're with us on that one, Troy. That's probably the best contribution Patrick has given us since Big Carrot.
True.
Yeah, use that one.
Anthony, we'll be there in San Antonio. YouTube, I think they get YouTube in San Antonio, man. You get the old in-flight streaming, you'll be good.
There you go.
I don't think we've had the actual in-flight contributions yet, but agreed. Safe travels.
Yeah, they have Wi-Fi on planes now.
Yeah, look it up. Victory wax.
For the win. There's a.
We'll see you tomorrow morning. Plenty more Carolina, Kentucky talk. We'll have a little sports court tomorrow, and make some picks. Have a fun Friday show.
Sounds good.